Yeah. No, but yeah, I've.
No.
Hello, folks.
Okay.
Welcome to Boatrek Live. Ken, thank you for being here for the first time, and I'm also
I'm
joined by
excited.
Marcelo. Uh,
Howdy.
you have a little ship to show us. What
I
is that?
do. This guy, I would play the music too. So what's interesting about the Doomsday Machine, and it actually lights, but the batteries are not in here for some reason. So next time I'll have it lit. But the great thing about this, hey Joel, is this predates John Williams's Jaws theme, right? So when you think about the music from this, dun 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 dun, it's very similar to na na na
Yeah.
na na. So, but I love this, and it was a weather vane, right? It's a weather vane that they basically just paper mache. So, like one of those big flags that you see at an airport, that's what they did,
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
um,
okay,
and that's
cool.
what this is. But anyway,
That's very
I didn't
cool.
mean to introduce the new show. My appearance on the new show was something so kind of phallic, but
No,
that's
that's
okay.
okay.
No,
There it
no,
That's
is.
it's
fine.
Um,
Yeah, that's
it's
yeah.
fine.
okay. No, that's pretty
Um,
So,
cool.
yeah. So
Speaking of
hi.
Star Trek, that's
yes.
what we're going to talk about right now. We might get into some other things later if some other people join us, but who knows? Since last week, there's been a few announcements. Uh, for one, Strange has been renewed for a season 3, and
Yeah.
the second season will premiere on June 15th. Am I correct in that? Did I get that
You
right?
are.
Yes. Yes, you are correct.
Uh, Also, we got an announcement for a brand new TV series, Starfleet Academy.
Yep.
Now, I haven't
Yeah.
really looked into this, but people are saying it's set in the 32nd century.
I think
Yeah.
Terry Matalas basically confirmed that with a reply to a tweet to someone that it is set. It's basically set up as a sequel to Discovery.
Yep. I know. I read the article on Trek movie, and they
Mhm.
also said that it was set in the timeline of Disco as well.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think that they say that in the write up they said Starfleet Academy has been closed for more than a century, and now it's opening up again. So
Right.
the only way
I'm.
they can do that is
Tilly is
the
their Mr.
36.
Belding, maybe.
Oh
Could
my God,
be,
that'd be so funny.
could
She has
be.
to deal with a bunch of
um.
rapscallions.
Yeah,
No, but you
exactly.
know what? I'm very intrigued to see who they're gonna get because initially, eons ago, when they first pitched the potential of this series, they were talking to the executive producers and the showrunners of the OC to do it. And
Mhm.
I was like, I've never been a fan of the OC, but here's what I've always wanted in a Star Trek series. I've always wanted Star Trek, I've always wanted a young teen drama Star Trek show. I want the OC in space. So
Hmm.
so I'm like, so if
You might
whoever
be
they
getting
get,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
if this becomes the OC in space, this is one Star Trek fan who's gonna be so happy. Although I don't know how other hardcore Star Trek fans are gonna feel about that. Um,
Well, they've done Marvel Comics did a short-lived series called Starfleet Academy,
oh, I
um,
didn't know that.
which was very well done. And it was sort of like, again, it was a bunch of cadets. And, Marvel basically is very well known for the X-Men and for Young Avengers and for all these younger characters, teenage characters. And
Yeah.
so they basically took that, and so they created a whole bunch of young characters in space, and they mixed up the races, right? So you had an Andorian, you had a Vulcan, you had. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here, because you can. I don't know if we'll see many familiar legacy characters, but I'm pretty sure we'll see some pretty familiar legacy, alien
Species.
races. Yeah,
Hmm.
so that'll be kind of cool.
We
Yeah, I
also got
think.
an. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, no, no. I just want to say I think that you're right, Ken. I think that we are going to see different, species from Star Trek that we've seen before. But I also think that we may get one or two legacy characters from other Star Trek series to sort of like anchor the show, and then surround them with characters that we've never seen before, which would be the
Right.
cadets.
And if you think about the Next Generation episodes, there was a number of good Next Generation episodes that were anchored at Starfleet Academy, right? The Red Squad with Wesley, right?
Yep.
And then, of course, there was Ray Walston coming back a few times, including in a episode of Voyager as Boothby, the groundskeeper.
Boothby.
It's a great character.
Yes.
Now, of course, Ray Walston has passed on, but the idea of having this omnipotent sort of groundskeeper, know-it-all character is an interesting thing to go with. So
you think they're going to have a 32nd century version of Boothby?
they might. Yeah.
Turns out he was a hologram the whole time.
Right. Exactly.
Holograms do all the menial jobs. It's interesting that this would be the second Discovery spinoff.
Yes.
The only thing with Strange New Worlds is that you can't. There's a small hope, but there's really no hope of the Disco cast showing up on Strange New Worlds, unless there's time shenanigans involved. But with the Academy series, a lot of people are just assuming now, I guess, that Tilly will be in it, because
There's a lot of
there was that one episode of Discovery which was kind of like a backdoor pilot for the Academy stuff, where she takes the cadets down and they go on a little mission. And
I never,
that's right.
So
like
you could see Sarus show up. You could see anybody from Disco show up. So that would be cool.
And there was one tweet which was interesting. Maybe one of our regular audience members tweeted, I forget who, but the idea that you could have the Doctor from Voyager show up because he's a hologram, right? So that's interesting too.
Yeah. We also got an announcement of Lower Decks season 5, and of course, like always, it's going to premiere in August at some point. They say late summer.
Yeah.
And Prodigy was also it was announced that would be coming in the winter sometime, but there was for the season 2, but there was no official announcement for season 3, which I guess some people got a little worried. I wouldn't worry about it because Prodigy is the best one out of them all. So
yeah,
it's probably the one that's the most time consuming as well.
Prodigy's.
It also has a longer season, right? So their seasons run 20 episodes, and these other shows run 10 episodes.
Yep. What were you going to say, Marcelo? Sorry.
No, I know, but when you said Prodigy is the best one of them all, I do not agree with that. But if you like Prodigy, look, if you like Prodigy, more power to you. But Prodigy is the first Star Trek series within the Kurtzman era that I just can't like. I tried, I made it through season 1, and then I'm like, guys, go with God. This is not for me. Huh?
Yep.
And I don't think I've mentioned on this show that, yes, we've never talked about Discovery ending, I don't think. But, yeah, it's going to premiere maybe in January, I guess, 2024.
That's what I understand,
Is it early? Yeah. And it's going to be a 10-episode final season. Whether they're going to add an episode or two, who knows? They still have to go back and do additional shooting, which isn't uncommon for anything now. So, but do you agree? I just want to bring this up because do you agree that at the end of season 4, no, at the end of season 3, it was kind of like what the Orville season 3 did. I know you never saw it, but it's where it's like if you could take it as a series finale, if you want it, like Michael Burnham finally becomes captain and it's like her ship now, and the way that ends is, but season 4 doesn't feel like it ends on that. Season 4 feels like it has there's more to go, but it seemed like season 3, you could almost take that as a series finale if it had never gone on. But 5 seasons is what I guess they were aiming for from the very beginning, and 5 seasons, this day and age is quite an accomplishment. So,
yes,
yeah.
I agree. And I do think, Discovery, even this season of Discovery, if I recall correctly, didn't really end on a cliffhanger per se.
No, it was a complete story. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a complete story. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with their final season. They're going to go back and do reshoots, as I said, because they're going to make a bona fide series finale. And I think Jonathan Frakes has said, you guys are all going to be blown away on how Discovery is going to wrap up. It's just going to be incredible. Now I wonder if they're going to do that final episode of Discovery and bridge it into Starfleet Academy. We'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yes, certainly. I'm sure Tilly's going to show up, and they're going to. It would be a great, like I said about the backdoor. Sorry, Marcel, I'll get to you in a second.
No,
The backdoor pilot I was talking about in the previous seasons of Discovery for a Starfleet Academy type of show. They could certainly do that again in the last season. Have an episode not devoted to, but it involves Starfleet Academy on Earth in the 32nd century somehow. And we see it. It's like a setup, and we may meet some of the characters or something like that.
I think you're right. I think that's a good shot. And backdoor pilots, Star Trek is known for backdoor pilots. Assignment Earth in the original series was a backdoor pilot. Yeah.
Didn't work out so well.
Didn't work out, no. But still.
Yeah. When it comes to the final season of Discovery, there's a couple things that I want that I'm probably not going to get. I would love if Kurtzman was more involved with the final season, because I've been really I haven't been disappointed, but I've been kind of disappointed on how he has taken a step back from Discovery in the last 2 years, in the last 2 seasons or so, and he's let. Again, this is her job, so I'm not. It's not her fault. He's let Michelle Paradise take the show, and he hasn't been involved with the show as far as writing it. So I hope.
And I think for good reason, though. Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
So I hope. Well, I was just about to get to that. So I hope that in the final season, he is more involved, and him and Michelle Paradise run the game together. The reason why he hadn't been involved with Disco in the last 2 years is, number one, he was developing Strange New Worlds with Akiva, Henry Alonso Myers, and those folks over there, and he was also doing The Man Who Fell to Earth for Showtime. But I don't believe that The Man Who Fell to Earth is going to get a season 2. So if that's not happening, I would love for him to focus on Discovery for his final season. Again, I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's just something that I would like. And the other thing, I want Tilly to come back. I never understood why. It really bothered me that Tilly sort of was removed from the equation. In the last season, I'm like, I don't like that. But
Yeah, she has a cameo kind of deal in the 4th season. She shows up, but she's not there a lot. By the way, The Man Who Fell to Earth is not apparently getting a season 2, just like Kurtzman's other show, Clarice, which I don't think anybody watched. I'm serious.
I did.
Okay, one person? Okay, cool. Wow. Yeah.
Was it based on Silence of the Lambs? That Clarice?
But they couldn't use Hannibal in any way.
Really?
What's the point?
Wow, yeah, what is the point?
Hannibal was a great series. The 3rd season got a little up its own butthole, but it ended on a cliffhanger, funny enough, where they actually fall off a cliff. No, a spoiler. But anyway, it was a waterfall or something. I don't know.
That's funny.
But when I like the movie version of the Red Dragon stuff in Manhunter and Red Dragon than I do what Hannibal did. That was the one thing they didn't do as well as the other versions. But man, Mads Mikkelsen, it's like, how do you top Anthony Hopkins and Brian Cox? Brian Cox was great too as Hannibal, the first guy to play Hannibal on in a film. But anyway, why I don't even know why we got. Oh yeah, Alex Kurtzman. Clarice. Yeah, so
my fault.
His creative endeavors and his outside of Trek haven't been all that fruitful. So
yeah, I mean,
I think The Mummy is not that bad. The movie The Mummy that he directed.
Yeah,
it's weird and quirky. It's okay.
As a guy who has obsessed about this guy's career before he came to Trek, Alex really got his start. Well, his first writing gig was on Xena, and then years later he actually met his longtime writing partner Roberto Orsi, and they wrote and they did some writing on Alias. That's how they ended up meeting JJ, and then they did Mission Impossible 3 together, and then they did Star Trek, which was followed by Transformers, and then a bunch of TV shows. Obviously, they had their own company, KO Paper Products, and and then after their split, Bob went off and kind of did his own thing, and Alex really shot up to the stratosphere by signing the deal with CBS to bring Star Trek back to TV, and Star Trek is the thing that sort of elevated him to being, Alex Kurtzman, what he is today. So it's really, that's really funny how the one guy who wasn't a Star Trek fan, I know he was a Star Trek fan, but he wasn't as big into Star Trek as Bob was. The one guy who kind of knew Star Trek but didn't know it as well as his other partner got the golden egg that Bob did, that Roberto didn't get, because also Bob Orci was supposed to direct and write Star Trek 3, but when he handed in the draft to Paramount, they were like, "This is too Star Trek," which I never got.
I would like to know what that script is like. Too cerebral. It's like,
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too cerebral.
Really.
I apologize for going on that.
Well, it's interesting because you're right. Kurtzman's connection with Star Trek was through his relationship with Bad Robot, right? Talking about JJ. Yeah. And then when Alex Kurtzman went over to CBS, Bad Robot has nothing to do, as we know, with the television stuff at all.
No.
Right. Mm-hmm. So
that didn't stop a whole bunch of people. To this day, you will hear that it's Bad Robot 25% different. It's like, what's that? For the longest time, people wouldn't shut up saying like JJ secretly ran Kurtzman Trek. It's like, no, Kurtzman and his company run it. JJ is another guy involved in other things. He's not in the writer's room at CBS. Like people were not I say people, but I mean like there was a portion of people who watched certain channels that were spreading like weird, these misinformation channels which cover their asses by saying, by the way, take with a grain of salt. But our sources, it's like anytime somebody says grain of salt and they start like making these, how many times is Kurtzman on the verge of being fired?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember that whole fiasco, the whole thing with Ketwalski? Remember Ketwalski?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He purposely
I remember that
baited, and I don't want to talk about other YouTubers so much, but the Doom guy, he baited the Doom guy into this story about Alex Kurtzman being mad about him and throwing something at the TV, and it was completely fabricated by Nick Ketwalski. And this guy reported, it's like, even that was a bit petty on either like Ketwalski's side. It's like, really, we're getting into the weeds here. I'm like trying to plant false things so people who are just trying to make a buck with their rumor mill kind of bullshit. It's just stick to the fact. And this whole thing about 25% different. Sure, okay, maybe the choice was to be different. Whether there was legally they needed to be or not, I'm not sure. But once Viacom and CBS made up and they got back together, people were still going on about the 25% difference. It was like, no watch Lower Decks, watch Prodigy. They have like true to canon references that they don't alter and make 25% different in any way. And if anything, Picard season 3 is further proof that there is no issue with the rights, and you have to be different. You can show a Constitution class 60s style in episode 6, The Bounty, and it looks like something right out of the original series, which they haven't really done in live action. They're always altering things in live action to make it look more modern and shiny and glistening, and creates an obscene amount of lens flare in the cameras.
Yeah, that's true.
They need to simplify.
We get on to a rant about how excited and I was weird when I saw the Enterprise in Discovery at the end of season 1 of Discovery, and you see the Enterprise fly in next to the Discovery, my first thought was, "Oh, this is beautiful. This is amazing." And then my next thought was, "What the heck are they doing with that ship?" But we need. We could get into canon and all that discussion. We need Sohail to talk about that. But yeah.
Let's get into Star Trek Picard.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Season 3, Episode 7, Dominion, which is we're deep into the season. I think as an audience, even if you didn't know about the budget, you would think, "Wow, this is kind of a bottle season," and that's how it's been described before. Like it ever aired, like people had seen it, like it's really a bottle season. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, and then I was told a lot of it takes place on the Titan. And I'm like, that doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, most of the episodes so far have been pretty good. Half of 5 I don't really like. It's okay, but 7 is the one where I was just on rewatch. I just didn't enjoy. I enjoyed it less because it's for a couple of reasons. Jack, the mystery with Jack, I'm over it. I think with, I'm going to say modern or Kurtzman Trek or just storytelling in general nowadays, if seasons of a show drag out a mystery too long, and I've heard other people say this, the longer they drag it out, the less satisfying the answer is going to be. And another thing, Riker and Deanna weren't in it, and I do understand. I know Terry was a bit frustrated on Twitter. He's like, Trek Twitter. He's like, we didn't forget about Riker and Deanna. They're gonna blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, we know. It's just people are just missing them in this episode. Vadic. Oh my goodness, what can I say? Vadic is a strange character. Amanda Plummer plays the character very well. It's campy, it's goofy, it's sad, it's a bunch of things. And she's very she's quirky, and I like that. But this whole thing where Section 31 at Daystrom Station experimented on her and her family. The concept, yes, okay, she wants revenge. If somebody just told me that, I'd be like, oh, I kind of understand that. But the way they film it is so stupid and goofy. It's the second time I'm like, I don't. For one thing, she's got 20th century syringes in a not very futuristic lab. She's using a taser from modern times, and it's she's got the petri dish where she's chucking away at, and Amanda Plummer as the scientist is so kind of goofy looking. It looks like an SNL sketch. I'm sorry, but it really does look goofy. I do like when she's telling Picard and Beverly about her pain and all that stuff. I understand all that, and I like Beverly's reactions to Vadic implying that her son is something that she doesn't know. But anyway, another nitpick or thing that bothered me was data lore. It's okay, why is he here? Oh, I get it. He's just there to mess things up. Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend bullshit. And I'm like, really? And Geordi, poor LeVar Burton, pouring his heart and soul out, crying and everything to Lore. It's when you died, it broke me, and I learned to be a blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing I get from Disco, where somebody's pouring their heart out, and I don't give a shit. Even though it's Geordi, and it's Data, and it's I should be happy that I'm seeing this high drama, but this particular episode I didn't care about a lot of it. And Jack hulking out. Why is it that 2 times? I'll get to you guys in a second. I'm sorry, I'm just ranting right now.
Sorry, it's your show. Go ahead.
Why is it that 2 times Jack's eyes glow while Sydney is looking directly at him, and she's just what's up with him? I'm like, his eyes just glowed. Is that for the benefit of the audience? Are his eyes not really glowing? And then at that point where he remote controls Sydney was awful, and she's like, oh, you're in my head. And the minions, Vadic's minions, not only do they suck and they're uninteresting, I thought aren't they shapeshifters? Why aren't they doing any cool stuff? Budget probably. but just the look of them, they're so bland looking and uninteresting, and I don't know. I mean, there were some other things that bothered me, I guess, but I like 7. I like the Tuvok and 7 encounter at the beginning. I thought it was the best scene in the whole episode. I kind of liked at the end when Vadic is on the bridge and she's all friggin' weird and shit, but I gotta say it's probably my least favorite episode, but I don't think, like I said before, I don't think the wheels are gonna fall off. I think this is just a lull in an otherwise fantastic season of Star Trek. Rant
yeah.
over.
Yeah.
But PJ, how do you really feel?
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, I'm kind of with you, PJ. This episode I thought had some good stuff in it, but like I said on Sohail stream, I kind of found this episode kind of middling and kind of like, whatever. I was fine to find out the reason why Vadic was doing what she was doing. The Jack stuff, whatever is going on with him. Again, I'm kind of with you, PJ. I kind of lost interest and I don't care. At this point, I just want them to get to Frontier Day or whatever that thing is called. Because I think, like I said on Sohail stream, like I said on Sohail stream, I think whatever is going to happen there. And yeah, I just thought that this episode was really flat with me. Like when the whole series is available to stream, like I doubt that I'm going to watch this episode again. When this episode comes up, I'll just skip over it because I'm like, I never need to watch this episode again. Thank you very much.
So what's interesting is I agree that this was in a lot of ways some of the weaker episode, especially after what was so fantastic with the bounty last week. But one of the challenges is while this show is really doing amazing things for Star Trek fans, it also has to take into account that there's new people watching it who are not diehard Star Trek fans. And so I think part of what they've got to do as writers is create that balancing act. And even with the idea, like you're right, PJ, that you had the 21st century syringes and petri dishes and every other thing. I think that if they had done more futuristic stuff in a lab, it wouldn't have been able to get the point of the story across so quickly because people know syringes and petri dishes. So I think they had to make a choice and say, okay, yeah, this may not be what would really be in the lab if we really think it through and think what would Section 31 have and what would Daystrom Station have. But we've got to convey the fact that these are experiments. And so we've got to sort of do 21st century motifs here. So I don't necessarily begrudge them that. I do agree that the Jack story is going on too long. The Jack story should have been answered this week. For them to not only to stretch it, but even to stretch it to the cliffhanger, and be like, and now Jack, here's who. Next week, find out. It's like that's a little bit crazy. So I agree with you that's going on too long. I thought that, frankly, the acting in this episode across the board was incredibly strong. I thought Amanda Plummer, as we've talked about, was fantastic in her dual role. She's batshit crazy. She's mysterious and kooky and altogether ooky, right? She's just really crazy. But she's playing that role really, really well. All of our main cast doing incredible too. I thought that LeVar Burton showed that, he's LeVar Burton. He's the actor who was Kunta Kinte in Roots and everything else. I mean, he's got his bona fides, and he was doing a great job, I thought, in that piece. I do agree with you, PJ, that it was a little bit too much, thinking about, everybody's emoting on Discovery, and this is a little bit of the sort of the Discovery emoting kind of thing. But I also think that you need to evolve these characters, right? And so I think that involving Geordi...
The emoting is only good if the story is interesting. For example, in Project Daedalus in season 2, season 2 of Discovery, I actually felt something when Arium, the situation with Arium played out. because they set it up well. And I don't know, something about Jonathan Frakes' directing. He always wants to get the main points across. He always wants to make you feel something. And
Frakes didn't direct this one, did he? No,
he didn't direct this one. He directed the Project Daedalus
Right.
episode that I'm referring to. But yeah, it's like if Geordi pleading with Data or Lore. I was just so angry at the fact that he felt shoehorned in there just to give Vadic that upper hand. And think about how lucky Vadic was. She's like, I'm in this force field. These guys seem like they're going to kill me now. I'm screwed. Oh, force fields are down? Well, that's some good luck. And here, Beverly and Picard, pew, 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 all the way up the thing, and they can't, like, what's up with the ability to kill these things? It's so weird. And one of our minions, they shot in the head, and he collapses. I'm like, what? I don't know. I just don't get it. Maybe they'll explain it. I don't know. And the floaty head. Minions... Who's the floaty head?
Well, so the floating head, again, that's another one of these mysteries they're carrying through. I think the face has to be someone that we know from Trek lore somehow, because they've been hiding this for so long. And if it just happens to be some new character that nobody's ever heard of, then it won't have the same punch as if it's somebody that we know from probably from Deep Space Nine's backstory.
Maybe Dukat. The
Maybe
spirit of Dukat. He's a Pa Wraith kind of spirit now.
Oh my God.
Or maybe Wayun.
Wayun, yeah.
Oh my God! If they bring Wayun,
they go through great lengths to disguise the voice as well. I'm like trying to think of the inflections in the voice. I'm like, I can't even. It's so distorted. So they're hiding the face and the voice for a reason.
But if you think Jeffrey Combs, because I was thinking, could it be Jeffrey Combs? And you have Jeffrey Combs in the back of your head, and you watch the scene again. I think it sounds a little bit like Jeffrey Combs, but we'll find out. I hope.
Yeah. You know, like I said, I thought this episode was flat. I thought there were some good moments in there, but I really, really want them to pick up the story and start to move, because there's only 3 episodes left, right? So I think whatever they're gonna do, I would like them to start moving, please.
Well, they have no other choice, because at the beginning of episode 7, they're 36 hours away. Was at the beginning of the last episode, it was 72, then it was 30, then it was 48 or something, and now it's 36. And I assume by the end of this episode, it's like, I don't know,
well, we
24
know that
hours away.
We know that this is part 1 of a 2-parter, and we know that 9 and 10 have been said to be super epic. Yeah, this is a 2-parter, and then 9 and 10 is supposed to be this big. People are saying if you thought that the Bounty had amazing Star Trek callbacks, the 9 and 10 is going to be unbelievable. And I have theories about what's going to happen, but I don't know if you want to go into theories on this.
Well, we as an audience know that the end game is Frontier Day, and we know that Geordi has mentioned there's going to be a lot of stuff there all in one spot. And that's a huge liability, I suppose.
Well, it is. and all the ships are connected.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's, except for the old ships that are not connected, like the ones at the museum not connected.
That's right.
So my theory is that what's going to happen is, and you have that, when, not Sydney, but the other LaForge daughter said, what about Bay 12? And so my thinking is that all of the current modern day Federation ships are going to be compromised, and they're going to have to get the legacy ships. And so I think you're going to see the Enterprises and the Defiant. And I think what's going to happen is what's behind door number 1 at the museum is going to be the D, or rebuild of the D. And I think you're going to see all these legacy ships having to be called back into action to fight. So that's my guess. I have no idea, but that would be interesting to see all these legacy ships back in play. Like Worf commanding the Defiant again, for example.
Oh my God,
that'd be
so cool.
Yeah.
Geordi commanding the D.
And then
Yeah.
who's going to step into Command A, right? So
The reanimated corpse of Captain Kirk.
of Jim
of course.
Kirk. Yeah, that's right.
Jim Kirk.
It's
Oh-
gonna
oh
be
my God.
it's gonna be
Sorry, I
a
forgot about Kirk.
92-year-old or 91-year-old at the time, I suppose, if you filmed it, if it ever had. Like, can you imagine if I don't
Shatner?
think I think there's like a 90% chance this is not happening, but
Yeah.
William Shatner came in and did a cameo, and they actually de-aged him to 1994.
I mean, that would be awesome.
It would
I
probably
don't
look
know-
awful if they did the same de-aging they used on Riker and Picard.
Well, that's true.
No, but what
yeah.
if they?
Oh,
what
boy.
If they got? What if we did get Kirk, but it's not the Kirk we think it's gonna be? What if it's Paul Wesley?
They're never going to do that. And that goes back to canon because you
Yeah,
don't
they're never gonna
have
do that.
the Strange New World Enterprise there. You
Right,
have
that's
the
true.
original
That's
series
true.
Enterprise there.
That's true.
So they're bypassing
Is the original series Enterprise there, or is
well, the
was
original
that
series Constitution.
movies?
No, you had the movie, you had the NCC 171A, but
Yeah.
you had the original Constitution class configuration there in the New Jersey.
Oh, in the New Jersey.
Yeah,
Okay,
which
yeah.
is not the Constitution class configuration in Strange New Worlds. So
yes.
it's interesting.
So who do you think is gonna command the ship then? Because I think you said that your choice was Jodie to command the D, and so who do you think is gonna?
Picard.
Well,
Wouldn't it be-
Seven's got to command Voyager, or Janeway
Yeah.
Oh,
comes back to
oh,
command
God.
Voyager.
I just want to say that Kate Mulgrew is not. It's been confirmed that she is not in the season
Oh.
because of her involvement with Prodigy at the time. Now, unless they're lying, but
Yeah.
they
They've name
be
dropped
lying.
her too many times. They've name dropped Admiral Janeway too many times, I think.
Yeah.
if she shows up, I'll be very surprised because they went out of their way to say they couldn't do it. So
Right.
I don't know, but I mean, you
lie.
still could get you could get the not visitor, even though she's said no, I'm not in it. Like she's outright.
Well, they're not
said
going to
no.
say yes. I mean, they have NDAs, right? So
Yeah, I know. That's but
That's true.
it's weird to respond to anybody who asks. Then, like, if I just wouldn't even respond. I'd just outright say no. Like Andrew Garfield with was it
the
No Way
Spider-Man,
Home?
he said he's not in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
I'm
like
not in
straight
it.
up,
He said
no.
he said it. He said it 500 times. I'm not in it. I'm not in it.
Yeah.
Tamara Deverell, the production designer on Discovery season 2, she's moved on since, I believe. But she went out of her. I bring this up so much because it pissed me off at
What?
the time.
What?
Because she said she went out of her way to say that on season 2 she would have loved to design an Enterprise bridge, but she didn't get a chance. Right? She went out of her way. Nobody asked her about it. She just said it. So I took it as because people were speculating: are we going to see the Enterprise bridge or just the ship in season 2 of Discovery? And anyway, no.
Well, you're going to see. I believe you're gonna see the
She lied.
Enterprise
It was
D.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, look, it happens all the time. David Tennant. No, I'm not in Doctor Who. Right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So, these actors, if they don't answer, that's tantamount to saying yes. So they basically
Yeah.
are probably told to say no. I mean, David Tennant was asked, "Are you in this last
Doctor Who.
episode of Doctor Who, the Jodie Whittaker farewell episode?" He's like,
I am
don't
not."
be ridiculous. I'm
Excuse
not.
me, guys, for 1 second. I have to go open a window. It's strangely
Sure.
warm.
Yeah. No, but you know what? I think you're right. Where all these actors that are part of top secret things, whether it be Doctor Who, Star Trek, or Marvel, they have to sign these NDAs
They
that
do.
prohibit them from talking about the things that they're in. So sometimes it's very, very difficult for them to, skirt around the answer. And like PJ said, sometimes the best response is no response. But even if you have no response, that still indicates something.
Right,
So
you have to say no. Right. I mean, I've been around celebrities for a while, and I think that they basically have to say no, because that's if they say nothing, then I can neither confirm nor deny. Basically, all the fandom's like, "Oh, you're in it," right? So
Right.
if you say no, they're probably still going to say, yeah, you're lying, you're in it. But at least it delays it a little bit more in people's heads. So I do think, I could be totally wrong, of course. I don't know if they're going to get William Shatner back. What's interesting is that scene where you saw at Daystrom Station James T. Kirk, you heard the heartbeat. You heard the sickbay sound that was like in McCoy's sickbay, the heartbeat jump. Yep. You heard that there.
Yep, you heard it.
So that's interesting. Now, again, that could just be whatever.
Fan service?
Well, no, it could just be throwing things off, right?
Picard and Kirk could team up again, and Picard's like,
yes.
I've got to get to the launcher.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I mean, there's so many people who feel, including probably Terry Matalas and all these writers in the writer's room, think that the way that they the way that they dealt with James T. Kirk in Generations, nobody liked it, right? So they've already gone so far as to say, this guy's body is no longer on Viridian 3. It's at Daystrom Station, and there's a heartbeat. And if you read the copy that's on the Daystrom Station, it says James T. Kirk was critically injured at Viridian 3. Didn't say he was fatally injured. It said he was critically injured. That's also very interesting.
No,
it'd be funny. They went to the place, and he's under the rocks, and it's like, I'm still alive.
He's like,
fucking Picard buried me in these fucking rocks. Anyway,
even Brendan Braga and Ronald D. Moore in prevailing years, they went, Generations. Look, I love Generations, but even they have said, I think we messed up by doing what we did.
Yeah. Well, at least they didn't leave him shot in the back. They reshot that segment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. They were going to shoot him.
They did shoot him. They filmed it. They did shoot him. That's how they ended that movie. They had him shot in the back by
Soren.
What's his name? Soren. Thank you. And so then they showed it to test audiences, and it was brutally panned. And so they went back and reshot him dying. How he dies in the movie with the bridge falling down. But yeah, they have it there where he was shot in the back, and he tries to get up and he falls down, and come on guys, this is Captain Kirk. So
I love Malcolm McDowell in the role. I think he's a stupid character, and this idea of like going to the ribbon is like it's a version of heaven. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It's strange, but I like him and I love his voice, and as Marcelo knows, I always do that line. Actually, let me do the picture. It works better with the picture. Where one of my favorite scenes in anything Star Trek is when he meets Picard in 10 Forward.
Yep.
And he's like, time is the fire in which we burn.
He did that very well.
Picard looks at him like, oh my God, burn. My nephew and brother just burned to death. It's very dramatic. By the way, Malcolm McDowell, if I may say, his latest acting role is in a series called Son of a Critch, which is filmed and set here. In fact, last summer, they were filming season 2 like 2 minutes away in some place in a parking lot.
Oh, that's cool.
But my cousin's in there. I watched season 2 again. I couldn't see him. It's like a background extra in the school. But they filmed this show in like places where I'm familiar with, and it's so weird. But Malcolm McDowell is the grandfather. He plays an old Newfoundlander, except he doesn't do the accent. He just sounds like an Englishman. And I think they explain that at some point in the show, but he tries to do... It's so weird to hear Malcolm McDowell talk about Newfoundlanders and blah, 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 and this and that. But in the second season, there's an episode where he goes to an old folks' home and he meets Alice Krieg.
Really?
Who they become like enamored with each other, I guess. But she has dementia, and it's kind of sad and stuff. And but it's weird. I was like, I was gonna take a picture of the screen and be like, it's the villain from Star Trek, 7 and 8 together, or First Contact, two villains.
Hey, what's Soren doing hanging out with the Borg Queen?
Yeah, it's like Soren and the Borg Queen in love. It's like, and they're old, but she.
No, I have said it a million times on streams and privately. My favorite Next Generation film. I mean, I love First Contact. I adore First Contact, but my favorite film from the Next Generation is Star Trek Generations. I love that thing, and I acknowledge. I'm saying this now. I acknowledge that the ending is ridiculous. I do. I get it. It's stupid. It's dumb, but I love it. I don't know.
I used to love that movie.
What's wrong with me?
Before First Contact Generations, I had on VHS. I just wore out that tape, dude. There was one point where I could say in my head line for line. It's the only movie I think that I had memorized at one point.
Yeah. I mean,
but go ahead.
No, the funny thing about that movie is just a little history on me. I grew up watching the Star Trek movies first before I watched any of the series. So for the longest time, right, I would watch Generations, like PJ said, on VHS constantly. And there's this one moment where Data and Geordi are in Soren's laboratory, and they're trying to open up the thing. And Data starts laughing, and he goes, "You know that joke that you guys said 7 years ago on the bridge, right?"
I just got it. Yeah.
And Jordy goes, "Are you talking about that thing that was 7 years ago?" And he
that
goes,
was Farpoint or so.
Yeah. Data goes, he goes, "Data, that was 7 years ago," and he goes, "I know, I just got it." But that joke to me didn't make sense to me until I watched The Next Generation Encounter at Farpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Is the joke in there?
Yeah. It's
the Ferengi in the gorilla suit has to go.
No, it's not in there.
No, but
it happened off screen. That's what I assumed. It had it was some. Because I don't. Geordi and Data don't interact that much in that episode, do they? At all?
But I think for me, it's just a reference to Data that happened. Yeah, Data that happened 7 years ago.
You had to be a fan to understand. Like, they're referring to the pilot episode of the TV series. Other people wouldn't have got it.
Which they did again in Picard season 3. Farpoint again. Yeah, sorry.
I remember in the something's up with my computer. I'm pulling the mouse out of the thing. And it's like beep 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 beep. I remember the end when Kirk dies and he's like, "Oh my," and he fades away. People groaning. Ooh. And I didn't agree with it. I was like, "Oh, this is serious, guys. Don't groan." But I didn't realize there were people in that theater who really didn't like what they did with Kirk. And I didn't quite realize it until the end when he started kind of like, "The fuck is this?" kind of deal. And I'm like, what's the problem? This is awesome. Data said shit. Anyway.
Shit.
Which by the way got a huge laugh. And I kind of got off on like other people because to be honest, like during the whole movie there was no response at all. So when Data says, "Oh shit," actually no, the first funny thing that happened was when Data pushes Beverly in the water. That got a laugh. Yeah. But it's like there's not a lot of even this. I remember nobody laughed at Data being silly with Geordi. Like, it was just annoying. Like to this day, that's one of the most annoying parts of that movie. I actually skip over it sometimes. I'm like, no, I don't want to watch this. Where it's like open sesame.
I like it. I'm sorry, I like it.
And
no,
can I just say something about Lore?
Sure, yeah.
Lore has always annoyed me. There's something about Brent Spiner. When he plays Lore, it's a little too much. I don't know if other people feel that way, but there's in Data Lore, I always laugh. It's kind of like one of these unintentional laughs. Like, for example, in Terminator 2, when Arnold Schwarzenegger says, "Your foster parents are dead," I fucking burst out laughing every time. I did in the theater when the re-release in 3D, and it inadvertently made everybody else laugh in the theater. Well, I was pretty proud of that. It's like,
good job.
when he asks about the dog and he finds out that the he says the wrong name of the dog. He's like, your foster parents are dead. Anyway, in Data lore, Laura wakes up for the first time, and the first thing he sees is Data. And he kind of like lunges at him very angrily, and that gets a laugh out of me every time because I don't know, something about Brent Spiner when he plays emotion in that makeup. That's very off-putting, and I just kind of have to chuckle at it. But I've never liked lore. I love the concept of lore, and I like the episodes. But when anytime Bruce Spiner plays lore, I just want to punch. Like Marcelo can relate. I just want to punch him in the fucking face.
Yeah, I just want to. Punch
And in this episode, when Geordie's like crying and stuff. And Laura's just there, like, with his fucking smug look. I got really annoyed at the scene, and just like, I'm not enjoying this. I would almost love it if it was just Laura. Mm-hmm. If they found Laura and they said, okay, he's aged up now because we mentioned that in one episode of TNG, so it's okay, fine. You don't have to spend millions of dollars to de-age Brent Spiner every shot. Cool. Make it just Laura and have, yes, okay, sure, Laura fucks with the ship to help Vadic for whatever, I kind of hate that. But anyway, that plays out, but it's just lore. And Marcelo, you mentioned this too. And other people mentioned, like, just appeal to, was it you, Marcelo, who said they would rather it be lore? No, it was Toddy. Both of you guys were talking about it. Toddy mentioned if it was just lore and it was Geordie trying to appeal to lore's humanity.
Yep.
Yeah,
and that Laura could be like a kind of crusty villain at first, but like he slowly acquiesces and realizes, okay, these changelings are going to wipe everybody out. Well, that wouldn't be fun to live in a world like that now, would it? So I'm going to help my former enemies. It's just every time they go there with Laura, it's too much for me, and I still somehow look forward to seeing him. I don't know.
Well, so Descent. Parts 1 and Part 2 I never liked.
Oh, I hate Data in that episode. I hate Data. I want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, and so, but Data shoots Lore, and Lore is damaged, and then Lore is deactivated and disassembled, right? So it makes sense that this is not the Lore we know from the series, and this is not the Data we know from the series, right? So I get that. I don't quite gather the logic behind, well, Soong wanted to put these two together, and they have the partition because maybe it's a way to get Data to be more human. I don't like that explanation, but it is what it is, right? So, and it gives another villain. It again is somewhat of a plot point to say, okay, we need Lore in there because Lore's got to basically screw up the Titan and move the plot forward and release Vadic and the enemy and the enemy of my enemy and all that stuff. So, I kind of get it, but like I said a couple of times, if you say, okay, this is happening because they need to move the plot forward, and it's clearly a plot forwarding device, it's not very good writing, in my opinion. So, yeah. And as for Generations, the best part of Generations is when William Shatner's on screen.
Yeah, I was out saving the galaxy when your grandfather was in diapers. Like, I love those.
Well,
lines.
Even the whole the cold open, if you will, sequence on Enterprise B is just, I think, brilliant. For what it is, because there's Shatner being Shatner. It's a shame that it wasn't, Spock and McCoy, and they basically had the same lines as Spock and McCoy.
Thinking back to my theatrical experience of TNG. When Kirk is kind of like getting up and keeps sitting up, and Scotty goes, "Is there something wrong with your chair, sir?"
Yeah,
and
it's good.
And also the line, "It brought a tear to my eye." Like that stuff was good.
Jimmy Doohan was really good in that movie. I mean, the best Jimmy Doohan ever was in Relics, the TNG episode Relics, but he was very good in Generations, I thought.
I remember watching Relics after seeing Generations and being like, "Ha! You messed up!" Because Scotty said he just saw Captain Kirk, and no, he didn't. Because he saw, but it was the first time it was actually the first time where I thought I caught a continuity error, because I never really paid attention. I never cared before. I care more now for some reason as an adult. But as a kid, I was like, they didn't plan for generations. Of course they wouldn't have. I knew, like,
Well, of course
they
it
didn't
would.
have this stuff planned down the line. Of course not. But
And you
like,
can make the
gotcha.
argument. You can make the argument in headcanon that Scotty just came out of a transporter out of 70 years being back and forth in a transporter, and his memory was a little bit messed up when he said, "I bet Jim Kirk himself." Yeah, well, he forgot.
Yeah, you could make up your head canon to
Yeah.
resolve that issue.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the thing I like about Generations is, to me, it feels the most like, like TNG, the show, like the uniforms, the fact that they're on the D, the fact that the lighting is different. It just feels like the goddamn show, and the fact
Yeah.
and the fact that when when Riker and Worf beam into the station before it goes kaboom, the first aliens that they come across is the Romulans, and Worf goes Romulans, So it's just great. I mean, to me, but I understand where a lot of people don't like the Shatner thing. And seeing Shatner talk to Picard while he's cooking breakfast was awesome. And when he remembers what he needs with the Katarian eggs, and he goes, I just love it. It's just
Dill.
Dill.
Yeah.
It's just
But-
so great.
The scene where he says, "Captain of the Enterprise, eh? Retired? Well, don't let them take you off the bridge of that ship, because there you can make a difference." That scene encompasses so much of what Star Trek was about, and that scene on the horses. Besides the fact that Shatner is a big horse guy, and he was when the horse sidled over, Shatner was doing his own horsing skills. But yeah, I thought there were definitely strong moments in Generations. I just think that it was unfortunate that Kirk had to die. I do agree with was it Jill who said that people's deaths are sometimes just happen, and it's true. And so I agree with that you're not going to see Kirk. He died on the bridge, but not quite the bridge you thought he was going to die on. So yeah.
Was this the comment?
that's
the
the
thing is,
comment.
deaths
Yeah.
are usually for stupid reasons. Kirk's death never bothered me because that's how people tend to go.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with that, Jill. And also, I saw that Jill commented that she watched TOS in first run, which is awesome. Really awesome.
Wow.
Because I'm a TOS person. I didn't get to watch it first run, but I did watch it in the syndication, or the first round of syndication.
No, I mean, as far as the original films, I mean, to move the conversation a little bit, for me, my favorite, original crew movie has always been The Undiscovered Country. I love that movie so much. General Chang, I love General Chang. He is such
Vadic's dad.
Vadic's dad. Thank you. He's such a.
Don't wait for the
maniacal
translation. Answer me now.
Yeah, answer me now, guy.
Great.
He's such a maniacal, evil guy. But I love the way that Christopher Plummer, God rest his soul, plays him, and it's just so great. I mean, when he, when in the final sequence when he's giving all the Shakespeare quotes as he's beating the crap out of the Enterprise, and Spock and Bones are getting a torpedo ready, and Bones says, "I would give real money if he just shut up."
Dude, shut up.
Yeah. Where's my damn torpedo? I mean, that was.
What?
It was a great movie. Star Trek 6 was a great movie.
Star Trek 6 contains the most TOS scene out of any of the movies. Any of them.
Yeah, which one?
It's the one where the shapeshifter turns into him.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that split screen shit. And there's one shot, it makes me laugh every time. Because the compositing is bad, the eye lines are off. It's where he goes, I can't believe I kissed you. Must have been your lifelong ambition. It's like, fuck. Oh man, that gets me every time.
Yeah,
like the way Shatner says it, like the way he's talking to himself, it's just so good. And the end where he's like, "No, shoot him, you idiot!" It's like I love that stuff. Although Part 6 is one of those ones where I love the first half a lot more than the
Oh,
second
so
half.
good.
Like I really
Really?
love how it starts in the middle, and then once they get on the Klingon prison planet, it becomes less interesting. Even though I thought that was the coolest part when I was a kid. By the way, getting back to this episode, our heroes now,
this episode.
our heroes now. We're talking. Well, it's segueing into TNG movies because this season does take from not only the show but the movies as well. We're getting a redo of Nemesis apparently, because they've stolen Picard's body. Geordi, Beverly, and Picard in a room speculate, could they be using your body and maybe Jack's DNA to fill in some blanks or something? And it's like, to make a doppelganger, to pose as Picard as what?
Check, right?
Check, he's saying.
Yeah.
Check, you got it.
Check.
They're checking. Yeah. I'm sorry. They're
Checking the Nemesis boxes. It's another Shinzon, basically.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
And when they said that in this episode, I'm like, I kind of suspected, but really? We're doing a Picard clone again? We're doing Nemesis?
I don't think they're going to go there. I think they're throwing us off. I don't think that's... I'm hoping it's not the Borg, because I'm so done with the Borg.
I do not want... No.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so...
Maybe
I'm
it's
so happy
Super
you said
Picard, like Super Shredder at the end of Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah, that's
It's
it.
like some deformed version of Picard who just goes to Frontier Day and starts smashing stuff like Hulk. And then
There you go.
and then
Picard
Jack
smashed.
hulks out
Yeah.
and he joins in.
Yes,
Nope.
Jack and his superpowers. That's some weird shit going on there.
Yeah.
He's got a new one in this episode. He's reading them. He's reading people's minds now. So that's going to be interesting to see how Deanna thinks of him, how they interact on a psychic level. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and not
Because
only that, but they're reading minds back and forth, similar to how Riker and Troy can read minds back and forth as Imzadis.
Yeah.
So
Even though he's not Betazoid at all. So she doesn't have the powers, but he's like, it's like when somebody has a mobile hotspot, it's like you can kind of pick up their stuff.
there it is. Yeah. Yep.
When somebody has a mobile hotspot. No, but I'm like I said, I'm kind of over the Jack stuff, and I also do not want anything to do with the Borg. So if the Borg come anywhere near this finale, I'm going to be very disappointed in Terry Matalas, because like you, I'm tired of the Borg.
Well, they've just been overdone. I think the Borg are good, but they've just been overdone. And Charlie X, there's a deep TOS cut. Good on you, Mark Boyd. That would be interesting if Jack sort of looks up and you hear that sound effect. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
He has that funny look on his face every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns
That's
people
a
into-
good episode of TOS.
Yeah, actually, but you know, when it comes to Charlie X, there's something about that episode. Like I don't like that episode at all. like every time I rewatch TOS, I skip over that episode. There's something about it that I do not like. Oh,
So
God,
Charlie X is one of those episodes. I would recommend, Marcelo, that you try to watch it again, because as we get older, like for me, when I first saw the original series, I was like 7 and 8 years old. And there's many episodes when you're 7 or 8 years old that there's so much deeper meanings in these original series episodes that you wouldn't get until you're in your teens or your 20s or even older. And, Charlie X is one of those because, it is a teenager trying to be figuring himself out, right? It is a fantastic episode. I agree with Jill. It also, considering that it was a very early first season episode, the effects that were used in it, everything from eliminating somebody's mouth or face.
That was freaky. That was freaky as hell.
Yeah. To making people disappear. And then it was the first time that you sort of saw these all-powerful creatures show up and whisk people away, right? So,
there was a Twilight Zone episode similar to that. I mean, The Simpsons did a parody of it as well in the early seasons of or the early episode, or the early installments of Treehouse of Horror, where the boy with all the powers, he has these, just he can do anything. So
that was the Twilight Zone, right? That was the what is the name of that episode? The Twilight Zone episode. It's not the monsters are doing Maple Street. It's something else. But I know what you're talking about, where Homer turns into the
Twilight Zone episode about the boy with powers.
Yeah, there you go. See, now you're cheating. You're cheating, PJ. It's okay.
Yeah, well, he's got the internet.
It's a Good Life. And the synopsis is, in a town you won't find on any map lives a 6-year-old boy with terrible powers.
Yeah, I didn't think that was the episode. It's a Good Life. Okay.
I really love the first season of the Twilight Zone. I think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, the Twilight Zone.
It's masterful.
But the Twilight Zone was masterful, right?
Yeah,
Rod Serling was a genius.
I mean, the first episode of the Twilight Zone, I saw it in English class because my professor wanted us to write a paper on the moon landing for some reason. And he wanted to show us this episode because this episode kind of goes into the whole thing where the U.S. military would take soldiers and put them into places and pockets just to see how they would react if nobody was around. And I just think the acting by the actor in the episode, who I don't know the name of, unfortunately, is just great because it's just him the whole time until the very end.
Is that the one where it's kind of like that episode with Beverly on TNG where everyone's disappearing, or like people don't know about him or something, but they're only acting like I don't. Yeah.
No,
like that.
actually, no, but the episode of the Twilight Zone, the pilot, starts where there's nobody in the town. It's just him.
Okay, that's a different one altogether.
And I think the episode is called Where is Everybody? Where is Everybody?
Where is everyone? I should pull my Twilight Zone book from behind me. We're gonna start talking about the Twilight Zone, but it's interesting.
I love the one with Burgess Meredith, where he's the last man on Earth.
Yeah,
and he loves
Time
books.
Enough at Last.
That's
a classic. Time Enough at Last.
He finds all the spoilers for a 67-year-old episode of something, but he finds a library. He loves books, but his glasses break. He's like, no, it's not fair. It's not fair.
Oh God, Burgess Meredith was unbelievable. That he has Mr. Dingle the Strong was another one that he was in for the Twilight Zone, where you have this crazy alien with the two heads, and they have this thing that beams super strength into super strength into Burgess Meredith, Mr. Dingle the Strong, I think it's called, and it's just another great story. Burgess
so ahead of its time, like in terms of television storytelling, and I don't know why, but briefly there was a streaming service called Show Me, and one of the it's dissolved down to something else, doesn't exist anymore. But it had the Twilight Zone, all the episodes, every episode. You had the 90s or 80s one, which wasn't remastered; it was still in like standard definition. But most of the episodes, these black and white episodes, were remastered in HD, and they look so crystal clear and immaculate. But some were filmed with video, so it wasn't. Right. So they couldn't do those ones, but I just love seeing the ones that were actually filmed, redone, and those were mostly the actual like true classics.
They did about 10 on videotape as a cost saving measure, and then fortunately they went back to film. They're the Blu-ray release of the Twilight Zone. If you guys ever have a chance to take a look at that, it's just so amazing because they've got isolated tracks, and you have Jerry Goldsmith doing music for the show. You have Bernard Herrmann classically doing music for the show. Bernard Herrmann, who did so many of the Hitchcock classics movies. So they have isolated scores. They've got many of those episodes were done later on as radio shows, and they have those radio shows. And yes, Shatner was in.
He was in the diner one with the fortune teller machine that he becomes obsessed with, and then the famous one, the gremlin in there playing
Nightmare at 50,000 feet. I think it's 50,000.
Which is parodied, which was redone in the Twilight Zone movie with
Lithgow,
John Lithgow.
And also,
Right.
Also,
it
The
was-
Simpsons did a parody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the episode was redone, but it wasn't that very good. It was redone in the most recent version of the Twilight Zone that really ticked me off. With Jordan
And
Peele's Twilight
the
Zone.
William Shatner one wasn't the first iteration of it, was it? There was another version of that besides.
No, I
William
think
Shatner.
it was. I think it was the first. Well, maybe I'm wrong. But I always remember, if you guys know the television series Third Rock from the Sun, which starred John Lithgow.
Okay.
So
Yes.
there is an episode where Shatner shows up, and so Shatner comes off a plane, and he says, "I thought I saw something on the wing," and Lithgow's like, "I thought I saw it too." I'm like, so because Lithgow was in there. It was just a fun little
Yeah,
aside.
yeah, you're right. The William Shatner thing was the first
Yeah.
iteration.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but damn, I forgot what I was gonna say now. Yes, the Twilight Zone is amazing. The other episode I like, which is very early on in season 1, is the episode about the hobby salesman who gets
Yes.
who gets the visit from the devil, and
Yep.
the devil says, "Well, guess what? It's time for you to die, and you have this much time to get your affairs together." And then he tries to delay his death date, and because of that, little girl dies, and all the other stuff happens.
And an amazing character actor, I don't remember his name, but an amazing character actor in that episode, Marcelo, who did a lot of voice work, did a lot of Disney stuff as well. He was in Mary Poppins. I can't remember his name, but yeah, just an amazing. The Twilight Zone had just an incredible cast. I mean, you had Jack Klugman doing the episode with the trumpet, just so good. Art Carney as Santa Claus. You had such great. Every episode is so wonderful in its way.
And the other cool thing, if you watch,
It's not John Fielder, is it?
No, John Fielder.
Yeah, okay. No.
John Fielder's in Star Trek. John Fielder was Hengist in Wolf in the Fold, and also was the voice of Piglet in the Disney Winnie the Pooh movies.
Oh yeah. Yes, because I remember hearing him in Star Trek. I'm like, why is that voice? Because I had watched Winnie the Pooh when I was a kid, right? So I was like, he sounds kind of sounds like Piglet. And I didn't
Piglet's
realize
Jack
it
the
was.
Ripper. What the hell? Yeah,
Piglet's
it's
Jack the
crazy.
Ripper.
Yeah.
If you watch the original Twilight Zone episodes on Paramount Plus, they do something very, very cool that no other version of the Twilight Zone on streaming does. CBS for the Next Generation and possibly all the Star Trek things that they actually have the broadcast versions. So if you watch the Twilight Zone episodes, at the end of every episode, Rod Sterling will often show up and give you
Rod Serling.
a quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. I'm bad with names. Sorry, guys.
that's okay.
He'll often show up and give you a preview of what the next episode is. And when you watch the Twilight Zone on Hulu or Netflix, that's not in there for some particular reason.
No, and also that's also in the Blu-ray collection I was telling you about. And not only that, but they have a commercial. So next, watch the Danny Kaye Show, or next, watch Bonanza. I mean, it's really
Oh my
cool
God.
that they do that kind of thing. Yeah.
That's cool. That's
So-
very
The Rifleman, starring
The
Chuck
Rifleman.
Connors.
Yeah.
The other
They do that.
Yeah, the other show that I love that's around the time of not the Twilight Zone, but around the time of the original Star Trek series is Mission Impossible. I'm a huge
I knew you were gonna
Mission
say that.
Impossible fan. Yeah, you know that. And I love the original series so much. And when the original Mission Impossible series seasons 1 through 7 were released on Blu-ray a couple years ago, I jumped on that, and the episodes look immaculate. They did such a good job with that. The only thing that I didn't like about that is the packaging that they chose to go with. It was nice and pretty, but whoever designed that thing, the packaging was so awful. The way that they
So do you know the history between Mission Impossible and Star Trek, right? Besides Leonard Nimoy,
yeah
right?
yeah absolutely,
So they're both Desilu.
yeah that's right.
And so the story is that Lucille Ball, who is the mother of Star Trek. Lucille Ball is the mother of Star Trek, right? So she, after Desi Arnaz and she got a divorce, Lucy was in charge of Desilu Studios, which was, Desilu Studios was essentially all the Lucy shows. I Love Lucy, The Lucy Show, all the many different iterations of Lucy's show, right? So that was its big claim to fame. But they also were going to pick up other series, and so everybody was turning down Gene Roddenberry, and Gene Roddenberry went to Lucille Ball and pitched Wagon Train to the Stars, and Lucy loved it. And Lucy went to her producers, her board of directors, and they said, "No, you can't do this show. It's too expensive. It'll bankrupt the studio." And Lucy said, "I like this. We're doing this. And since my name is on the door, we're doing this show."
And then they said, "Lucy, you have some splaining to do."
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I won't do the accent out of, I'm a sensitive man.
Yeah. So they did that. And they also, the other show that Lucy pushed for was Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Right. So those shows were incredibly expensive, and they did ultimately.
I love Lucy, man. I just love her so much. Like, I really do. I'm not even, I know it's like a pun, but I love her because she was fucking smart, dude. She knew what good TV was. Like, she had an instinct for it. And she was an excellent performer. So, I mean, if you go back and watch that show, I Love Lucy, it's dated, of course, but it's funny as hell.
It is. So what's interesting is Paramount ended up buying Desilu Studios. Desilu was losing the money. They were right about, Lucy was, the board of directors was right. Star Trek was very expensive. Mission Impossible was very expensive. And Desilu was losing some money. So when Paramount bought Desilu Studios, they decided that they, of course, were going to take on Star Trek and Mission Impossible at a loss. But now, if you think about it, and you look at the Mission Impossible franchise, the Tom Cruise franchise, and of course you look at Star Trek, look at what Lucy did for Paramount, right? It's unbelievable. So all Star Trek fans should love Lucy for that reason.
Yeah, so note to any time travelers, don't mess with Lucy.
Right.
You're going to mess up the world. You're going to mess up the whole entertainment industry.
No, but my favorite story of Lucy
Tom Cruise would be working at Burger King.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my favorite story of Lucy Liu, and I heard this on a podcast that Barbara Brain was on, all about Mission Impossible. It's called Light the Fuse. That is the best Mission Impossible podcast that I've ever heard. So, but Barbara Brain was on there, and she actually said that the creator of Mission Impossible wanted her to play Cinnamon Carter hard, and he was her choice. But the problem is the studio wasn't really sure that she was good for the role. So what ended up happening was the studio, or somebody at the studio, said, "You know what? Why don't you just go to Lucy Liu's office?" And she went to Lucy Liu's office, and she said, "Hi, I'm Barbara Bain. I'm going to be playing the role of Cinnamon Carter. I was told to come and talk to you or something." And Lucy goes, "Oh, you're the girl who's going to play the female spy." And she goes, "Yeah." And then Lucy just goes, "Stop, turn around." And she's like, "Oh, she's good to me." And that's how she ended up getting cast in the original Mission Impossible series, because Lucy gave her the final okay,
right,
to go forward.
CTV in Canada, or one of the free kind of like streaming things here, has Mission Impossible, like the remastered episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just watched one. I watched a bit of the beginning of it. Wasn't all interested in it. I just wanted to see what it looked like. But I did watch a couple episodes with Leonard Nimoy.
And
it's 4. Like, I thought I would be like, wow, this is Leonard Nimoy. And it's like, he's just another guy in the show. It's not really special.
Yeah.
I actually, one of my favorite outside of Star Trek Leonard Nimoy things. There's two. The first one is the Simpsons monorail episode, but
Classic.
the second is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Mm-hmm.
That movie was like so talky and like thoughtful for a horror movie of that time. It was really strange, and I avoided it for the longest time because every time someone showed a clip of the movie or talked about it, they reveal the very end of the movie where
Donald Sutherland.
it's like,
yeah.
and then when I saw the movie the first time, oh, that happens at the very end. Oh, that's a big spoiler because that's the first thing anybody shows you when they're talking about it on a show or something.
That's true.
That's a very good movie. That's a very fucking good movie. It's freaky as hell, but it's very talky. There's a lot of people, like there's a whole thing with Leonard Nimoy. They're at a party, and a woman is convinced that her husband is not her husband. And Jeff Goldblum is there too. I love this. Like Jeff Goldblum and Donald Sutherland and Leonard Nimoy are in this scene, and they're out in the street having this debate about like, is it real or not? And like, Leonard Nimoy's like a psychiatrist, I think, in it, and he's trying to be very logical, but it's not like Spock at all, right? But it's just one of those movies where like particular scenes, like at the end when Donald Sutherland and the woman are like walking around the town and they can't escape it, and it just gets more and more fucking like outrageous. I love that movie. Have you seen that movie, Marcelo? Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 version, 1978.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I have seen that movie. But my favorite Leonard Nimoy performance outside of Star Trek isn't that movie. This is gonna sound pretty obvious, but
Fringe.
Yeah. His performance. Yeah, you knew it.
If it has anything to do with JJ,
you knew it.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm
no,
a
it's
JJ
good.
fanatic.
We know. We know.
Yeah,
At least there's one in the world. At least there's one.
Yeah, there's one guy.
There's one guy who likes him. No, I'm joking.
But Leonard Nimoy's performance as William Bell was just so great, and the way that he interacted with oh my God, what is his name?
New Alien.
The way that he interacted with oh my God, I can't remember his name. The guy who plays Walter Bishop.
Oh yeah, what is his name?
Yeah, he plays.
I can picture his face.
He plays.
Lance.
He played. No, he plays the diviner on Prodigy.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
What is his goddamn name?
I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, all right.
It's gonna be a moment where like, oh, that guy.
John Noble.
That's
yes,
it.
John Noble. Yeah. He, the way that
Yes, he has a very particular voice. He's like that.
And he was also John Noble was also on Stargate as well.
Yeah.
The way that him and John Noble interact off of each other, playing William Bell and Walter Bishop, is just great. So good stuff.
In case you're wondering, Ken, sometimes in the show, after we talk about we can just talk about anything, and this is where it's going. If anytime it gets
you want to bring something
too
up?
late and you want to leave, it's okay. There's no time limit on this. We just go
Are
with
you
the flow.
kicking me out?
No. But this is why, like, for no reason, we just kind of like went in the Twilight Zone. Where there's like a little section on Twilight Zone in this video.
Yeah, we went into the Twilight Zone to talk about the Twilight Zone.
Now we're talking about
see
70s horror.
Yeah, well, Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy.
Catch the episode of T.J. Hooker with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. That was a fun episode.
I have access to it on the service, and I've always meant to watch it. I watched a bit of. I do a weird thing with old shows. I did it with Hill Street Blues too, where I can't watch it because they're not shows that aren't really meant to be watched in a serialized fashion anyway. So what I do is I check out a few episodes from the first season and the second season. With T.J. Hooker, I started watching. I'm like, where the fuck is Heather Locklear? I'm like 3 episodes in. I'm like, I had to look it up. I'm like, oh, she doesn't show up until second season, I guess.
Yeah,
and
she was on at the same time that she was on Dynasty. She played. She was both her ABC shows. She was on Dynasty and T.J. Hooker, two very, very different characters, but it was pretty cool.
Fun fact about Dynasty: It is literally the only television series that my mother's ever watched.
Really, the original.
Besides Wentworth, which is
The
an
original
Australian, which is
Dynasty?
an Australian, yeah, the original.
Okay.
Except for Wentworth, which is an Australian soap opera that she didn't finish. She didn't finish it. She quit.
I can remember. So, my father is long gone. He died in 1986. But I can remember watching Dynasty with my whole family Wednesday nights at 9:00, and I remember
Oh, wow.
the cliffhanger, the infamous Moldavian massacre cliffhanger, which everyone was just on pins and needles through. This, I mean,
Wow.
there were certain cliffhangers, right, that everyone talks about, right? Of course, there's the Best of Both Worlds Part 1, to talk about Star Trek, the big cliffhanger. There's Who Shot JR, and there's the Moldavian Massacre, right, from Dynasty. Who Shot JR, of course, from Dallas. So those are, I don't know if there's any really, really other big cliffhangers that took people through a whole summer of speculation. I mean, Who Shot JR ended up on the cover of Time magazine.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm too young to remember that particular thing, but I remember The Simpsons. Who Shot Mr. Burns?
Yeah.
Had no idea when I was watching it. I remember that I was watching it at my aunt's house, and I would always, wherever I was, if a new episode of The Simpsons, I was like, I gotta watch it. Like, put it on. I can't miss it because you never know where you're going to see it again unless you recorded it.
Yes.
So I saw the Who Shot Mr. Burns thing. I'm like, oh, two-parter. And I remember the next week, and it was like they do this thing where they run the first episode of the last season again. Like, because it's done, the season's done, so they just redo the season again. I was like, this is a rerun. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Best of Both Worlds, too. I didn't understand at the time that a season, I didn't even understand the concept of seasons. I just knew there was a chunk of new episodes and then there weren't, and you had to kind of wait. And Entertainment Tonight would tell you, new season of blah, blah, blah is coming up. That's the only source of information, entertainment information you could get, that I could get. So I was like, would always watch Entertainment Tonight to find out. And anyway, the Who Shot Mr. Burns thing, I had no idea. Everybody was talking about it during the whole summer, but I had no idea that it was based on Who Shot JR.
You know what's amazing about The Simpsons? Lots of things, but if anybody is younger than 34 years old, I don't know how old you guys are, but if you're younger than 34 years old, you've never had any part of your life where The Simpsons has not been on television. That to me is just nuts.
It started, and I was younger than Bart Simpson, and now I'm older than Homer and Marge Simpson.
Actually, it's crazy.
Actually, I'm 34, and I'm about to be 35.
You're about Homer's age, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was born into a world that the Simpsons already existed, but you were talking about major cliffhangers in my life, and this is gonna sound really dumb because I was really young, but if you want a cliffhanger that I was on pins and needles for. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers cliffhanger when they reveal that the Green Power Ranger is the new kid Tommy from school, and then he eventually becomes the White Power Ranger after he sort of rebels against Rita Repulsa and he joins the Power Rangers. That shit was amazing because I had no idea what they were going to do with him. I was like, holy shit, so your enemy is now going to be your friend? Like, holy crap. But that was ages ago.
I was in like grade 8, I suppose, grade 7 and 8 when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was popular, and I was just in that age group where some people thought it was stupid that I watched it. It's like, that's a kid's show. I'm like, well, it's violent. I give it that. And you know what? People I knew my age did have the Zords and the toys and stuff, so it wasn't that. But some people just thought, like, somebody in grade 8 probably shouldn't be watching such a kiddie show. But it was a fun, entertaining show. And the movie, went to see the movie in 1995, and I was like, wow, they should not have done CGI. Like, I would have loved it if they just did people in stupid suits, because it would have looked better than that awful CGI at the end of that
It
movie.
looked awful.
Ivan Ooze
no,
was
but-
fun though. Come on, Ivan
Yeah,
Ooze.
but last thing, I thought of a better cliffhanger that's from me when I was a little older. Growing up, you know, I always say that the one guy that sort of raised me and the one guy who taught me about television and made me want and made me interested in superheroes. I mean, say what you want about him, but Joss Whedon. And I grew up with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so the season 5. I mean, spoilers. The season 5 cliffhanger when Buffy jumps off the dam and goes into the fucking portal to save Dawn.
Yeah.
That shit had me in tears, and you know why? Because I wasn't really abreast to entertainment news. I didn't know that Buffy was going to go from the WB to UPN. So at the end of the episode, it says the WB put up a thing that said, "Thank you, Buffy, for 5 excellent years." So I thought the fucking show was over, and I ran. I kid you not. I ran to the phone in tears, and I cried, and I called my best friend at the time, and I was like, "Oh my God, Buffy's over! What the fuck is this?" And then, and then a year later, I was so happy when I ran into a friend of mine, an older friend of mine. He goes, "No, you idiot! Buffy's coming back for another season. They're just moving over to UPN 9."
UPN, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, Buffy. I forgot about Buffy and Angel. I mean, those definitely were some great cliffhangers there.
I've never
as well.
seen an episode of either one. I've never seen the Buffy original movie
You've
with
never
Luke
seen
Perry
Buffy?
and stuff either.
Well, no, the original movie is very, very different. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, look. I fell
It
in love
seems
with
different. It
Joss-
seems like a goofy comedy, and then the show is like serious or something.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, it's very
Yeah,
different. I actually
I mean-
have never seen the original movie.
No, actually, I actually loved the original movie. I had it on VHS when I was a kid, and I fell in love with Buffy. I fell in love with Buffy and Joss Whedon because of the original movie, and then I saw the show. The original movie is very, very different from the show. It has this more campy feel to it, but a little bit of history. That movie was Joss Whedon's first feature film, and 2 weeks into the production of the movie, he left because he didn't like what the director was doing with the script, so he left. And then years later,
Isn't Joss Whedon some kind of like horrible asshole or something? Isn't that come out
yeah,
recently?
yeah, kind of, yeah,
His career's over. Nobody wants to work with him.
yes,
And Brian
Yeah, and
Singer,
then-
too.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Who
and then
co-created
years-
Discovery.
No, it's not Brian Singer.
Brian Singer didn't co-create Discovery. You're
no,
thinking of Brian Fuller.
No,
Oh,
Brian
Brian Fuller. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, sorry about that, Brian Fuller. I apologize.
That's okay. What was I saying? Yes. So years later, this executive at Fox calls Joss Whedon and says, "Hey, you want to take a shot at?" There's a point to this. You want to take a shot at Buffy the Vampire Slayer again? And Joss was like, "Yeah." And then Joss got a chance to redo essentially his first feature film ever as a TV series. But the cool thing about that is nobody knows this, but Dolly Parton was primarily responsible for supporting the show, and she produced Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series. Nobody really knows that Dolly Parton was involved with the production of
Buffy?
Buffy the yeah.
That's
You're
interesting.
saying that Dolly Parton herself was involved in the production? Man, I got to tell you a story about. I think I told this before.
But only 9 to 5.
But she was
Oh,
on
yeah.
she was on SNL. David Spade, I think. No, it was who was it told the story? I don't know. Somebody from SNL told the story about Dolly Parton. She was hosting, and she was rehearsing her monologue, and then she broke, and she said to the guys who were all around her, she's like, "Listen, I'll just turn my head, and you take a good long look, and we'll get it over with." It's like because they were all just staring at her chest apparently, and I guess they didn't know that they were staring. And she's like, "Oh, this happens every time." I love Dolly Parton. Who doesn't love Dolly Parton? I mean, come on,
Yeah.
get a life if you have something against her. Like what's your damage, man? No.
Exactly.
I love her.
Yeah.
Why would anybody have anything against good old
She's-
Dolly?
she is a
she's great.
saint.
Yeah, she's really a wonderful, wonderful lady.
She carries a heavy load in front.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a show that I've never watched. I don't think I've watched any Joss Whedon stuff.
Not even Firefly.
You know what? Nope, not even.
Oh wow.
Even
No,
though
I couldn't get into
people say
Firefly
it's
either.
great.
Yeah.
No, okay.
No, it's weird. I mean, I should try it again, but I just have not gotten into
It's
Firefly.
weird. Oh no, okay. Well, you tried to get into it, and you just couldn't.
I watched an episode or two, and it just,
Didn't
I
click
just
for you.
couldn't. It doesn't. It's the same thing with the Orville, the latest season of the Orville. I'm having
Okay.
problem getting traction into it. So, but I'll try again.
They say time is the firefly in which we burn.
No, actually.
Right
with,
now, Captain, my time is running out.
With I mean, look. If you ask Joss Whedon this, Joss Whedon will say Firefly is the best thing he ever created. But for me,
I heard Joss Whedon is an asshole.
yes, he is an asshole. But for me, the greatest thing that Joss ever did was Buffy, and then when I found out years later that he was going to do Avengers and what he did with that was cool. And
Though I worked with Rob Zombie on the Halloween movies, I played Loomis. Those were masterpieces.
Oh god, no, those movies.
Actually, they were dog shit, but yeah, cool.
They were dogs. Yeah.
they were fucking awful. Oh my god.
In parentheses, actually dog shit.
Dogs actually dogs.
Yeah.
No, but
Stick to singing, buddy.
yeah.
He's a great musical artist, by the way. I could listen to Rob Zombie. There's a Rob Zombie's Greatest Hits album that my friend had that I used to borrow. Yeah, actually, we used to borrow somebody's CD and just copy it on your computer. Yeah, it was all his greatest hits, like Thunder Kiss 69. It was 69, is it?
His recent redo of the Munsters was crazy.
Crazy
Yeah,
bad. I couldn't get through 10 minutes of it. I said, no, this looks like
Yeah,
a cheap fan film.
Yeah, you're right.
I actually watched that with a best friend of mine after we recorded a podcast, and we sat there for however long the movie is, and we just couldn't stop laughing.
You know what? I've looked at the history of the Munsters as a franchise.
Yep.
There was the TV show, the black and white TV show. Then there was the full Technicolor movie with the widescreen and all that shit. Then there was
Go home.
Then there were the TV movies, yeah, and then there was the reboots, and I think there was a cartoon at one point. Maybe there's always a cartoon, right?
I don't think there was. Well, maybe there was a cartoon. There was a cartoon.
No,
at the Addams
probably
Family.
wasn't. Yeah, there probably wasn't a cartoon of the Munsters, but the Munsters was redone a few times.
It was.
And then the last time it was like in the early 2000s or something.
Mockingbird Lane. Yes, it was a one shot.
That was that was one, but there was also like a redo in like 2000. There was some video on YouTube that went through it all. I'm like, I remember, but I didn't fully realize this was like, it was rehashed that many times. And here's the thing. I don't think the original Munsters TV series was all that. I think the Addams Family black and white TV series is far superior. And it's kind of understandable that would go on to some extent. By the way, they did that too, where the Addams Family black and white TV series became like a series of TV movies. They did it with Gilligan's Island. By the end of the Gilligan's Island shit, they were like on an island with the Harlem Globetrotters or something. It's
They
like,
sure were. Yeah.
just throwing anything at it to see if it like people would watch. And they used to milk those old classic shows with the TV movies.
Yes,
That
they
was a
did.
big thing
Well,
back then.
so what was interesting was,
Alf.
getting back to Star Trek for a second. Star Trek, the motion picture, was the first time because they had done many, many, maybe TV movies. Although I don't know how many TV movies they had done by 1979. But Star Trek, the motion picture, was really the first one to jump from TV to film. So the Munsters, I mean, Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis and Yvonne DiCarlo, I thought they did when it was the Munsters was working, and that cast was really incredible. I mean, Al Lewis and Fred Gwynne were well known for Car 54, Where Are You? And there were some Car 54, Where Are You jokes in the Munsters. But once you got away from those three, then it didn't work, because it was the personality of the actors, which was
Fred Gwynn was good. I have to admit, like
yeah,
he was awesome. He's a great
Yeah.
actor anyway. Aside
yeah,
from
absolutely.
it's one of I think the greatest movies ever made. I'm serious about this. Is My Cousin Vinny.
My
People
Cousin
don't.
Vinny, I knew you were gonna say that.
I
Utes?
love
Did
that
you say
movie so
Utes?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Fred Gwynn and Joe Pesci. Their dynamic is just gold. It's some of the best things you'll ever see, kind of antagonistic relationship you'll ever see in a movie. And then Marissa Tomei, who deserved that
so good.
goddamn Oscar, dude.
Yeah.
So good.
Talk about the most adorable female character in anything.
Yeah.
How can you not fucking love this woman by the end of this movie? When she's talking about positive attraction and she's up in a stand, like helping her man out. I know it sounds a bit like old fashioned, but she is that type of like. She's more than meets the eye. That's what I love about her character. It's like even the judge just assumes, like, even the people in the court when she gets up and she's an expert on mechanics, and stuff, like, how do you know all this? It's like they kind of have this prejudiced attitude against her and him. And the whole point of his character, Vinny, is like he's not desperate to prove himself, but he does want to prove himself, and it seems like he's not going to succeed if you're a first time watcher of that movie. You're like, I don't know how this is going to work out for me. He doesn't seem like he's that smart, and it turns out no, he is that smart, and so is his girlfriend, and the judge, who you think is kind of villainous, played by Gwen, is. Beautiful performance.
Yeah.
By the end, after he's trying to nail this Vinny guy for, all kinds of things, he kind of has respect for him at the end. It's like it's a great. Oh, I love it. I love it.
It was a very good movie.
Yeah, My Cousin Vinny is one of those rare movies that I watched as a childhood on repeat, and I could sit here for you guys and sort of just, and so you guys bring up any scene, I could probably recite it by verbatim because I've seen that movie so many times.
Pet Cemetery. He was in Pet Cemetery. Joel points out.
Yeah, it's just
Sometimes dead is better.
Yeah,
like that kind of. I love his accent too. It's so awesome.
My Cousin Vinny is such a good movie, and like my favorite thing about My Cousin Vinny is a really small thing. I really love the subplot that while Vinny was in jail, his girlfriend got ripped off at a pool hall. And I love the fact that while Vinny's going through the case, this guy keeps popping up and asking him about, I got my I got the $200. Are you gonna kick the shit out of me now?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love that part where they get stuck in that fucking field.
With the mud.
Vinny falls in the mud, and then when he walks back into town, the guy actually has the $200, and Vinny just fucking jumps on him because the guy he can't be fucking bothered at this point.
Yeah, it's like I'll show you where I'm from, buddy, because you just fucking. I've had it with you. I've had a bad day.
Yeah, and then he walks.
That's a near. That to me, that's a near. I don't know what it is. I can't even articulate. That's a near perfect movie in my mind. I never get tired of watching it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily watch it a lot. I watch it whenever I catch it somewhere. It's always a TV thing with me. It's like if it's on like a Crave or something in the
I actually own it on Blu-ray. I love it so much. And the next scene is when he walks into the courtroom, and the judge goes, "What are you wearing?" And he goes, "A suit." Well, are you on drugs? No, I don't take drugs. And then he goes, "Explain that outfit." And then he goes, "I have a suit. You've seen it. Well, now it's covered in mud. And since this town doesn't have a 1-hour cleaners, I had to go to a secondhand store to pick up this. So it was either with a leather jacket, which I know you hate, or this. So I wore this ridiculous thing for you." It's just so great. Sorry, guys. It's just so great.
And he keeps giving him contempt of court. And
yeah.
it's a great courtroom drama too, and it's so well written and perfect in every way.
Yeah,
I love the grit scene, like where he's talking about like how long would it take the guy. It's just and the woman who can't see like goes with the measuring tape, and he proves that like maybe she couldn't have seen. But I love the situation that the two young defendants, Ralph Macchio and his friend, find themselves in, because it's like the exact same car, and it's like it's totally understandable why they would nail these two guys, because it's just on the surface level it seems very much like these were the guys that did it. But then when the whole wheels the positive traction wheel thing,
the positive
explains
traction.
it all.
The other great scene in that movie is when Vinny walks into the hotel room with the files that Trotter gave him, and he mentions to Marissa Tomei that he's going hunting, and he goes on this diatribe about the pants that he's got on, and Marissa Tomei comes over to him and says, "Imagine you're a deer, right? You get thirsty. You put your head down for a nice clear jump, and then she goes, bam! A fucking bullet rips off part of your fucking head. Your brains are lying on the ground, little bullet pieces. Now I ask you, would you give a fuck what kind of pants the son of a bitch who shot you was wearing?
Oh, it's so
just
good.
so good.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I'm surprised you know it like verbatim like that, man. That's crazy.
Yeah,
You're a
I
bigger
told you.
fan of that movie than I am. Holy shit, I didn't realize.
You know what? I should.
Kent's is like,
I
this
should
is
do a watch
interesting.
along.
It's a good movie, but I'm not gaga over it like this.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. No,
wow. I mean, I thought we were talking about Star. No, it's cool.
Sorry.
If we want to bring it back to Star Trek, let's see Joe Pesci show up as an admiral.
There you go.
What the fuck are you guys doing? He's like, you think I'm funny?
Cool. Oh no! To bring it back to Star Trek, I did have this question for you guys before I went on that my cousin Vinny rant. Now with Discovery ending with season 5, do you guys think that there is any possibility in the future that CBS will be like, hey, why don't we give you guys a movie? Like, do you think that's gonna happen or no?
Not a theatrical movie.
No, I don't think a theatrical movie either. Because I think what you're going to see...
A streaming movie.
Yeah. They've talked about... Alex Kurtzman has talked about the idea of doing miniseries and movies. But they're not going to toss it to theatrical. They're going to keep it within Paramount Plus because they want to keep building the subscriber base there, right? So I do think you might see... What you might end up seeing is Star Trek Saru or, Star Trek Stamets or something like that. And you might have a short 5 hours or 10 hours even of, focus on a particular character or set of characters.
Or even somewhere down the line to go back with the Discovery crew on a mission that's like a 2-hour movie. Much like what Prime is probably going to do somewhere down the line with The Expanse. Where they're not going to bring it back as a series. I don't think that will ever happen. But as like Prime Video movies, which by the way you could release theatrically. They did that with Luther, Fallen Kingdom, but also with Discovery. I almost wish that it's ending. I don't really necessarily have a desire to see it go on in any other form, but I do want to see the characters come back and probably Starfleet Academy show. But what I wish the most out of anything is that Sonequa Martin Green, who I'm like diehard in love with, who if I ever met I would forget my own name. I want to see her in something like good on HBO or like something really fucking good and juicy.
Good.
I think
because she in my opinion as an actress has a brilliant range. And people will make fun of her acting in Discovery, like she overacts or people either say like she overacts or she's too wooden. I'm like, I don't get any of that because I think she's good at all of the emotions, even though sometimes like the sad stuff on Discovery gets to me. But here's the thing, one of the reasons I was so excited for Space Jam 2 was because she's in it. I almost didn't even care about Bugs Bunny. I'm like, I just want to see, and she's a tiny.
You don't care about Bugs Bunny? What? Well, we have to talk about that sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's a wascally wabbit, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Wascally rabbit, man. No, but the other thing that came out about Sonequa Martin Green, before the. Is
she not the most stunning person you've ever laid eyes on? She's got imperfections. I know her face so well. She has a little scar, between
Oh,
her
she's-
between her eyebrows. It's like,
Yeah, she's
PJ
Which
has
is-
been studying her vociferous.
studying her
but
face.
one of the things I love about her is that whenever you've seen her in public, or interacting
So kind.
with fans or anything, she's just like so luminous
Kind.
and engaging and kind and loving, and
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a shred of bitterness in her as a person ever. And it's
No,
like,
I agree.
wow,
It's,
I
yeah.
respect that.
Yeah, an interesting thing that came out about Sonequa before we found out that this up and coming season of Discovery, it's gonna be a last season. Sonequa Martin Green is gearing up for her first ever directing job.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Directing a
So-
Discovery episode or something else?
No, a movie.
Oh, a movie. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that played into the decision to end Discovery Now, or it was just like a cost cutting measure, which that's what I think it was. They
Yeah, I
couldn't
don't think
afford-
they would end a show. I mean, especially with these streaming shows, they're not like locked into you have to end in May and start again in September, like the old television model. I mean, I
Right.
think if they needed to give it breathing room to let Michelle or Sonequa have a time to do a movie, they would have just given
Moved
it
it.
that time, right? So I don't think that would have had much to do with it. Now, money may have negotiations on the star contract.
Cast.
On the other hand,
Yeah.
may have something to do with it, but you don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, but I really like you guys' ideas. That I think that it'll be really cool to see the Discovery crew come back at a later date, like on a, to see them come back on a movie specifically made for Paramount Plus. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Getting back to Picard season 3, I kept hearing rumors about they wanted to release the last two episodes in IMAX or something. And I don't think that's going to happen because we're late now. It's like, wouldn't we have known about that? But anyway, I want to see Trek on the big screen at some point. I loved watching The Best of Both Worlds. I couldn't believe that was in my local theater when they released it. Do you remember when they released Best of Both Worlds 1 and 2 as like a movie in a theater?
No, actually,
It was like watching a TNG two-parter in a theater with an audience, which was packed, by the way. Well, these special events always kind of sell out. It's like Batman. When they had the Batman animated movie, The Killing Joke, in there, which sucked, that was sold out. I was like, wow, there's a lot of people here for this.
Are you talking about?
or it just sucked.
Yeah. Are you talking about?
They literally only have like 2 showings of it or something. Same thing they did with Clerks 3, like these limited kind of like. But Best of Both Worlds was it was in theaters.
Yeah. Well,
Jesus,
Maybe
how
when
long
they
ago?
released
I
on
think
the
it was
Blu-ray.
2013.
Yeah, when they
Might have
released
been
on Blu-ray
2013.
as a single piece. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the thing about just to make a quick aside here, and then I get back to Star Trek. The thing about when Clerks 3 came out, I was so pissed off because it was such a limited release. I couldn't. I'm like, oh my god, Kevin, why did you put it up? Ah, I was so angry because my local feeder didn't have it, so I had to goddamn wait until it dropped on digital, and then I was able to talk about it with yours truly down here, PJ.
Wasn't
Ruben
it
also
released
said he
during the
watched it in
pandemic?
theaters.
What?
Sorry.
Oh, it did. Okay. Best of both worlds. Okay.
Yeah, and I love seeing what we left behind in a theater, and seeing DS9 blown up on the big screen. It looks so good. It looks better than TNG did, because when you watch TNG on a big screen, it's very bright, and maybe the shitty theater with its half lumens because they don't always have the light bulbs at full capacity. Maybe that helped.
Right.
But when we watched What We Left Behind, it looked pretty good, and I was like, wow, DS9 looks so cinematic, blown up.
And it's not even in high definition, so that's interesting.
No, it was. The What We Left Behind uses remastered footage of DS9.
Oh, What We Left Behind. No, you're talking about are you talking about the documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Uh,
Okay.
the finale of DS9 was what we'd leave behind, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I was confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What we
the
left behind is that was I didn't see that in theaters, but that must have been awesome.
um,
Yeah.
Hopefully the Voyager one will come out and that'll be in theaters too.
By the
I
way,
uh, I
by the
keep
way,
getting updates about that. They sent me a poster, and
when
it's
is it gonna
like
come out?
it's it's a long. It's not gonna be anytime soon. It seems.
Yeah.
You know what my theory is, and let's kind of bring it to I was gonna say Frontier Day, but First Contact Day, which is coming up April 5th.
Yeah.
One of my predictions was that they were going to announce a Starfleet Academy show, but that's already happened. Another one is a Picard spin-off, but the least likely one that I always want them to announce but they never do is, hey, we're going to re-release Voyager and DS9 episode. This is what I always thought would be the best plan, that secretly they would remaster it. That just means that for whatever how many months or years it takes for the people they hire to go through the archives and just scan the negatives. Now, I'm not even talking about the editing process yet. Just scan what they need to scan, right? And then slowly assemble each episode, which is a whole new post-production process. That's why they haven't remastered them yet, because it's so goddamn expensive.
Right. Which is why they're not going to.
Exactly. Well, a lot of people think that because TNG, when it was remastered, took 4 years and cost about $12 million or something like that. DS9 and Voyager each would be like at least twice that, because of the amount of CGI that exists in that shows that TNG didn't have. TNG is mostly models, and they do some CGI replacement in the remastering. It was very little. It's not as extensive. And those Blu-rays, as Father has pointed out many times, didn't sell the way they wanted to. And it's like, how are you going to make a profit off of remastering DS9 and Voyager? And to me, it's like, well, you have to, at some point at least, go through the process of preserving that film, because the film's going to deteriorate after a certain amount of time. So get in there, clean it up, preserve it. It's going to be lost if you don't at least preserve the unedited stuff. But just for argument's sake, just say they have archived the original footage. Actually assembling a remastered show is an expensive whole deal. And I think if they were like Paramount Plus each week, say in the blocks between the new Trek stuff, because now we have a block at the end of Picard, we have a like 9 weeks or something.
Yeah, 9 weeks. Yeah.
And so like release chunks of remastered old Trek, because I do believe that there's a whole audience. It's not. I don't think it's a huge portion that will not go back and watch things in standard definition just because they might have grown up in a world where everything was just HD. So to watch something that looks kind of blurry and not in the focus is distracting for some people. I know some people like that are like, well, if it's not a remastered version of an older thing, I don't want to watch it because I don't like the look.
I think you might see Deep Space Nine. I don't know if you'll see Voyager or Enterprise, but you might see Deep Space Nine, especially if they are thinking about doing something with Deep Space Nine similar to Star Trek Picard. I honestly think you're more likely to see an announcement of the original series in 4K than you are to see that what you're talking about. Because they just, when they took the motion picture to 4K and they could take the original series to 4K, I think that, what I would do is I would basically say we're going to do a best of, we're going to do the top 10 episodes of Star Trek. Like we're going to do City on the Edge of Forever, Balance of Terror. We're going to do like 5 or 10 of them, and we're going to take them up to 4K. That I think would get people's attention. But we'll see.
Or do you remember before they released the TNG first season Blu-ray? I have the first 2 seasons, and I didn't. I could never find the third one, and I just gave up. And I think when I bought the first and the second season, they were like the only copies there, unless some other Star Trek person bought the other ones. But I'm like, wow, I'm lucky I got the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose I could have ordered them, but there was a demo disc.
There was,
with
the next level.
The next level.
Yep.
Which is somewhere buried somewhere in my place. With
that?
The Inner Light and Redemption, was it?
I don't remember. I know it was The Inner Light. I don't know what else was on it. I've got it downstairs somewhere too. Yeah.
And I remember buying that and like thinking, "Oh wow, it's so clear." Like it was the coolest thing in the world to me at that time. And I just assumed, like, yeah, DS9 and Voyager are going to follow. I can't wait. It's like 10, 15, whatever years later. It's like, no.
I just don't think they're going to do it. And also the fact, and even taking the original series up to 4K probably is not going to happen, honestly, because they'd have to redo some of the effects. Even though they did take the original series up to Blu-ray and they did all the remasters of the effects and everything, and they had a tight budget, but they did it. If they got that team back together, and I think that team is chomping at the bit to do it again, because there's some things that you see that they really would want to fix. Just like they did with Star Trek The Motion Picture. It was a different team that did Star Trek The Motion Picture directors in 4K than did the original series in Blu-ray. But that would be, to me, amazing, even if they just did the best of, almost do the Roddenberry archives again, but in 4K. So
that'll be cool.
Another announcement that may come from. Go ahead, Marcelo.
Oh no, just real quickly. Are you guys like? I feel like I'm the only one excited about the Next Generation movies coming out in 4K this April. Is anybody else excited about that? Because I am.
Yeah. I've been reading the reviews on the digital bits.
Okay.
And Bill Hunt is always really good with his reviews on that website. And he's saying that, what's disappointing is that they're not doing any of the audio remasters. Like when the motion picture came out, they did an Atmos remix. They're not.
Oh,
Atmos...
they didn't do the audio?
No, they didn't do it. They didn't do it for any Star Trek 2 forward. They didn't do anything with the audio, right? So it's the same audio that you had in the current existing Blu-rays. But but it's the videos that they have, taken into, Dolby Color and HDR and all that kind of stuff, and supposedly they look amazing, as you would expect. I don't think I'm going to get Insurrection. I don't think I'm going to get Nemesis, but I've already ordered Generations and First Contact. And, Generations, Generations is because of Shatner's performance. Generations, I have, like we talked about earlier, First Contact, I think, is by far the best Next Generation film, in my opinion.
Okay.
So.
No, actually, I actually own every Star Trek movie ever on digital.
Oh, me too.
And the cool thing about Apple, if you're an Apple guy, if a new version of a film that you already purchased on Apple, they thank you. You did it. They automatically get upgraded. So that's gonna be like an early Christmas present for me. So I'm so excited to check those out when they come out. But I feel that I'm the only guy who's talking about it. I don't see anybody really talking about it. I don't.
It's 4K now is like. Especially now, if you watch anything on streaming in 4K, to a lot of people, there's so little difference.
Yeah.
But when you watch the physical media, there is a big difference.
There's a big difference. Yeah.
There's a huge difference. Yeah. So it's a lot of people just don't realize how good 4K looks in its native form. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited, actually, not to mention something, go a totally different direction that we talked about the last couple hours. What's coming out in 4K in April that I'm super excited about is the Maltese Falcon.
Oh, okay.
Oh, with the Humphrey Bogart?
Yeah.
Wow.
That
Nice.
could be interesting.
I watched that movie what was it, a couple of years ago, and I read the script because I wanted to write a noir kind of film, and so I went through a little noir phase.
Really?
Yeah.
So I ended up writing a noir pilot.
Was it good?
Maltese Falcon? Maltese Falcon
No,
is amazing.
no,
Oh.
not that. What you wrote.
Oh no, I mean I wrote it, so it was terrible.
Because I know that the Maltese Falcon,
Maltese Falcon is good.
is awesome.
Reading the script was amazing too. I mean, it's a different era, so it's like a different style of script writing. But
Right.
I have not seen the Maltese Falcon. However, it's the 100th anniversary of Warner Brothers. I
Yes.
noticed on TCM they're playing like a lot of the really old movies for like the Jazz Singer and stuff like that first.
Yeah, that's really old.
And then they're building up to like the original Maltese Falcon film, the one before Humphrey Bogart, which I didn't know existed. I'm like, oh wow. So I still haven't watched any of those, but I really do try to watch a lot of older movies, especially when I was in my 20s. For some reason, I was like really interested in a lot of older movies, black and white. Citizen Kane, that's cliche. Everybody's kind of looks at that and says, well, that's a masterclass for its time in filmmaking. Like it was doing things that no other film was doing.
A lot of the things that we take for granted today.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Orson Welles plays a man in all these different ages and it looks half convincing is amazing.
Because he was a time traveler.
It was.
But that's not even the half of it. The half
Hashtag facts.
The cinematography in Citizen Kane was just
Well, even like my favorite thing, the Dutch angle, like things like that, like just simple things like that nobody was really doing at the time. All the cameras were always about head height, tripod, nothing else.
There's a shot where
a hole in the floor for one shot.
Yes, yeah,
he did.
They filmed up at the actors. Sometimes like actors were completely in shadow. They played with light a lot.
They sure did.
And then on top of that, you have to think about like having film is the super ultimate collaborative art form. You have to have the DP, the actors, the writers, everybody on board with these crazy ass. No, trust me. Cut a hole in the floor. Put the camera down there. It's gonna look awesome.
What about the scene? What about the scene where the camera goes in through the top window of the nightclub and it goes down into the like? It's just stuff like that is crazy. There's another shot where at the beginning when Charles is a kid and he's about to get taken away. It's a shot of him playing outside in the snow. And the camera just keeps pulling back and back and back to a scene in the kitchen, I guess, where the mother and the father are talking to the dude who's going to take him away.
And
the whole time, the kid is still perfectly in and not only focused, but like you can see him plain as day.
Yeah,
as just like it's perfect. It's Kubrick before Kubrick kind of shit.
Oh, absolutely. And the mother in that scene, Agnes Moorehead, who of course went on to play Andorra in Bewitched.
Oh,
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny you guys are mentioning Citizen Kane. I watched it. I watched it for like the gajillion time the other day.
I'm gonna send you the script, Marcelo.
They say there's a lesson or a theme to like a movie or whatever. When I first saw that, I was like, I thought like, oh well, I guess the whole point of the movie is money doesn't buy you happiness. It's like you have all the money in the world, you can still be a miserable prick because he just trashes all of his stuff at the end. He's like fucking means nothing, and by the end he's dead, and it's like all of this stuff, and it's a beautiful shot of going over all of his stuff in the warehouse, and it looks like a city. It looks like a fucking city, but it's like just junk and like useless fucking shit. That it's a Xanadu. And even there's an interview with on the CBC from years ago with Orson Welles, and he talks about Rosebud, the sleigh, being a rather tawdry device. He doesn't think it's all. Yeah. He's like, people make, he's basically saying made too much of it.
That's pretty mind blowing. Is Fritz Lang Metropolis?
Yes.
I mean,
Which I
that
have not
movie,
seen. I need to see it.
it's insane. Like you're watching and you're like, wait, this movie was made in 1926. Like, how is this possible?
It's almost 100 years old.
Yeah, like, how is this possible? Like, I didn't
No,
think
but
of
no,
this
but
stuff.
isn't Francis Ford Coppola doing a remake of Metropolis?
Yes.
Is he
And
really?
somebody's also doing a remake of Nosferatu, a second remake.
And
Wait,
Vertigo. They just announced a remake of Vertigo.
Oh,
Francis Ford Coppola is
Who's
doing a remake of Metropolis.
my two
Yeah.
favorite, actually, there's my three favorite. Well, why am I blanking his name?
Alfred Hitchcock?
Oh, that guy. No, the guy who talks like this. I was in
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart. Oh my goodness,
I
PJ.
The guy who talks like this.
I completely blanked on his name. Hello, Bedford Falls. That guy.
Yeah. Did some great Hitchcock movies.
I love. Yes, I love It's a Wonderful Life, but I also love Vertigo and Rear Window.
No,
Yeah.
actually, my favorite Hitchcock film. Well, everybody says Psycho, but I don't say Psycho. I love the Rope.
Wow.
And also I love well, in film class.
Frenzy is good.
Yes, in film class, I saw Hitchcock's very first movie. It was a black and white movie. It had no sound in it. It was called The Blackmail. And that was very good. But also, so my two favorite Hitchcock movies are The Rope and Rear Window. I absolutely love Rear Window so much.
I think Psycho is quite a boring film. I think it's totally overrated. I think it's
Yeah,
one of Hitchcock's most overrated films. The Birds is far superior to Psycho, in my opinion. I think that movie, the effects, yeah, sure, they look a bit fucking weird.
They do.
But I mean, that movie terrifies me.
Yeah. I agree with that.
It's an uncomfortable movie to watch because the birds are like fucking serious. You think, birds. I was like, oh no, birds. No, birds.
Birds.
No,
Right.
Birds was pretty up.
Mine is probably North by Northwest. And
That's a good one too.
That's a good one, yeah.
And the reason, I mean, I just love the film top to bottom, and also it
The
has
Mount Rushmore scene is crazy. It's like,
Yep, it also has very James Bondian elements in it, long
Yes.
before James Bond. Not long before,
Yeah,
but definitely
the
before James
cornfield
Bond.
plane chase scene, which has been most people who have, I think, younger people who eventually have seen the movie, bet you they've seen it parodied in a bunch of things. I can't even name how many times that running through the field and being chased by the plane has been parodied.
and Goldfinger.
X-Files kind of does a tribute to it in a way, with the cornfield with the helicopters. It's kind of like has that influence, but yeah.
Well, and Bond did it. Bond did it in
Goldfinger.
Thunderball, and Bond did it in a few other movies where he's running around in helicopters. But it was, a lot of the tropes in North by Northwest are adopted later on in the Bond films. Now, I think the Bond books were written before North by Northwest, but the films certainly weren't.
Yeah.
No, but I'm a huge James Bond fan. I love James Bond, so big fan.
Yeah.
There's an underrated and overlooked Stanley Kubrick film called The Killing
Well,
that has a really great ending. It just makes me laugh. It's like, I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but
No.
it's just about a dude trying to do a scam. That's all it is, but it's interesting. It's an interesting film. And the dude from who gets shot in the head in Godfather stars in it. I forget his name. He's also in
That was
Dr.
still when
Strangelove.
Stanley Kubrick was trying to write his own movies, wasn't it? Didn't he write that also? He wrote a lot of his earlier movies, but he was not
think
very
so.
good.
yeah, and then he stopped. It's a good
Yeah.
point, by the way, that Joel has, since we're talking about Star Trek, that Psycho, written by Robert Bloch, who wrote a couple of episodes of the original series.
Oh, cool.
I love the score of
no.
the Psycho. That's probably my favorite thing about Psycho. That kind of
Texas
Bernard
Chainsaw
Herrmann.
Massacre is also inspired by the same novel that inspired Psycho.
Oh, cool.
yes,
real
both
life
of which
killer.
were inspired by Ed Gein, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, to take it back to the guy who talks like this, I can't do as well as PJ does it.
Oh,
But,
when you're done, I got to tell a funny story about Jimmy Stewart and Jim Carrey.
Okay, my other favorite Jimmy Stewart movie is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Great
I
film.
I love that movie. Just so great. The filibuster scene at the very end, so great.
Oh, Anatomy of a Murder. I forgot to mention that's a
Also an
brilliant
incredible
fucking movie.
film. Yeah.
That's one of the best courtroom movies. It holds up now. I mean, it's up there with My Cousin Vinny in terms of good courtroom.
I don't know if anybody's ever said Anatomy of a Murder and My Cousin Vinny in the same sentence.
They're both
go.
great courtroom movies. It's a fact, and
Yeah.
they're so different though. They're so different. But yeah, Anatomy of a Murder is gritty for its time, dude. Like the language and
Otto Preminger, right? He was just fantastic.
it was just so like honest. I watched 12 Angry Men for the first time last week.
Another
the
great
black and white
quote.
version.
Yeah.
I was like,
Another fantastic film. Another great.
I've worked on that show in theater.
Yeah.
12 Angry
Oh,
Men.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We did it 20 times.
Wow. Okay.
20 shows.
That's cool.
okay, the
The
story
original
about
Jack Klugman. Jack Klugman. I think it was Jack Klugman, right? In that one, that just the original film, unbelievable in all kinds of ways.
Mm.
it's Starfleet boys. Like, I'm coming on. You're still here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Here we go.
We're still here.
Sometimes
not
these
that guy.
live streams last
Not
12
that guy.
hours. No,
Boo.
I'm joking.
Boo.
Okay, so there's a Saturday Night Live skit. It was one of the ones where Jim Carrey was hosting, and Jim Carrey does forever. From his early days, he always did Jimmy Stewart, very exaggerated version of Jimmy Stewart, like whoa, better, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
and there's a sketch where they go on a talk show. But Mark McKinney from Kids in the Hall, and he's in SNL, plays Jim Carrey, but very Ace Ventura type of Jim Carrey, like a very stupid
cool.
version of Jim Carrey. And then Jim Carrey comes out playing a very, very old Jimmy Stewart, who fucking hates Jim Carrey. And he's like, "Oh, you young people, you don't know what comedy and acting is." and Mark McKinney's like, hey, doing a very like shitty Jim Carrey. It is one of the best SNL sketches
That
ever.
shit crazy.
It's really good.
Sounds
The best Jim Carrey SNL sketch, and I swear to God, it is the best, is the one where he plays the rich millionaire. He's in a wheelchair and he's talking about like going up taking a woman up in a hot air balloon and like releasing his seed onto the earth. It's really sick, but it is. I can't even describe. I literally can't say what he said in it. It's so gross. But he's like then I would release my seed in the ground, would take it for purchase, and I'm like, what the fuck? And it's basically a game show where they're talking about, would you date a millionaire dude? And it's just a dude saying like what they would do on the date. And most of it's like normal stuff, like guys front and saying like, "Oh, I'd take you in my Mercedes and blah, 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 this and that." And the other guy's like, "Well, I'll take you to a nice expensive restaurant." And then Jim Carrey's like, I'll drive you to a place and take you up in a hot air balloon. And then I'll fill a room. Or there will be he's like, "I'm going to make a field filled with Kevins. And only one guy's name is Brian. And I'm going to watch as they introduce themselves. Hi, I'm Kevin. And see how long it takes for Brian to realize." It's like, fuck, it's really weird. It's Jim Carrey in SNL is up there with Melissa McCarthy, who is McCartney? Who is not, whose movies suck, but she is an actual funny person.
Yeah, I don't like Melissa McCarthy at all.
Oh, on SNL, she's so good. Come up in here. What's that character? She
also
plays
in Gilmore Girls too.
She plays the woman at the top of the stairs,
Yeah.
and she has three suitors at the bottom of the stairs, and she's always like, well, why didn't you come up and see me sometime? But she always like ends up falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really
We're getting
love
off in the
Gilmore
weeds here
Girls.
now, folks.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sookie is
actually,
amazing.
Not just now.
No, but no, you know what? You know what, Ruben? I love Gilmore Girls, but I'm sorry, I can't stand Sookie. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't
Why
do
is
it.
Gilmore Girls so popular? Why is
I
everybody
can't
seen
do
it?
it. I love Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore
but I
Girls is an
can't-
amazing show.
Was it like the
I've
Baywatch
never
of
seen it.
2000s?
You want to learn
No,
how to
also-
write? You want to learn how to write dialogue? Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
you bring up such a good point, Ruben, because I was talking to another one of my friends about the thing that I sent you, and he goes,
Is Gilmore
what you
Girls
should-
being remastered? I might watch it then.
no, actually, no, Ruben,
I
check
see
this
you're
out.
one of those guys.
So,
What is
so,
it,
Ru-
what's that?
so Ruben, I sent the script that I sent to you to another writer friend of mine. And he goes, "You want to learn how to write good dialogue?" And he goes, "You should watch the Gilmore Girls." And I go, "You fucking idiot! I love the Gilmore Girls. You know that, you idiot."
Ruben,
just got
what
mad.
happened to your project with and Tony Todd read a script or something? What was that all about? Did that go?
Man, the business is
Oh.
all about hurry up and wait, my friend.
Hurry up and wait, yeah.
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 So
I got
Tony
it.
Todd actually read your script, right? Or his your
He read.
treatment?
He's got the synopsis to the
So-
script,
yeah.
and then I kind of poked him on Twitter about it. But he's doing a play, I think, in London now.
I loved him as
so-
Kern. And
So he's not going to be busy. He's not going to be thinking about his script right now, unfortunately. But hopefully, yeah.
What's the episode where he first appears on TNG and like he's pissing Worf off, and he's like, and he tells Riker, he's like,
Yeah, the
Riker
exchange
tries-
episode.
yeah, he
Office
tries to
exchange.
offer Riker advice. Oh, no, Riker tries to offer him advice, and Riker gets pissed off at the end. He's like, "This is not a Klingon ship, sir." He goes, and Kern's like, "You're right, because if it was a Klingon ship, I would have killed you for offering your
Advice.
opinion or something, your advice."
Yeah, what the heck was that episode called?
Where's Father when we need him?
This is kind of a random sequitur, non sequitur here to another episode, but there's this episode where it's season 3, episode 1, with Paul Stubbs.
Evolution. That I know.
Yeah, Evolution. Yeah, well, there's a
Yeah.
part in the episode where they're talking about Wesley, and Wesley says, "Oh, I'm trying to get into Starfleet Academy. I get credit for my time here on the ship, but it's not the same." And I go, "Not the same." Every time I hear the line, I'm like, "What do you mean it's not the same? It's
Sins
a
of the
1,000
Father.
times better. You're getting a way better education on this ship than you'll ever get at Starfleet Academy." I'm like, "You should be teaching at Starfleet Academy by this point, man."
Kern has
This is the
appeared.
father's first Kern episode.
Sins of the Father.
Tony Todd has appeared as Kern in Sins of the Father, first one, Redemption Part 2. He was also in DS9 as Kern. He also played the older Jake Sisko in The Visitor, and he also played a
Yes.
Hirogen in the Voyager episode Prey.
The Visitor
He
is
was-
just top
He
notch.
was an amazing lead for the reboot or the remake of Night of the Living Dead in 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he
that
also-
was a movie. That's a strange remake. It was kind of like the Gus. Was it Gus Van Sant Psycho? Am I getting that right?
Yeah. The shot-for-shot remake.
Where it's like a shot, like it's like, well, this is
What's the
just
point?
like the other one. Tony Todd was good. He was also good in in
He's
Candyman.
amazing. Yeah, well, Candyman.
Candyman. He's
Voice-
fucking-
Voice of
The,
Zoom.
the voice, yeah, that's right. No, actually, the first episode where, well, not to take us down that road, but the first episode of the Flash where Zoom shows up for real, and he fucking grabs Barry and he takes him to the police station, and he shows Barry to the entire police department. And he kicks the holy shit out of him in front of everybody. Oh, like,
What do
this
you guys
guy-
think of this upcoming Flash movie?
That
Do you
was
think
when
it's
the
going to
show
be
was-
any good? Do you think Grant Gustin's going to show up?
I
don't
hope
care
so,
about the
but,
Flash TV show. I watched the first 2 seasons, but
No, I'm a huge fan of the Flash TV show.
do you know they announced the Flash movie during the
Yeah.
first season of the Flash TV show?
I know.
And then
I
10
know.
seasons later, it's
9
actually going to
seasons
show
later.
up. Not
Yeah.
well, yeah, 9. Yeah.
I watched the
9
first.
seasons.
When did his daughter show up?
His daughter showed up in season. Oh my god.
4?
6? No.
Starfleet Sohail is here. Yeah.
Starfleet
SS.
Sohail. SS.
Oh.
The
Wow.
SS Starfleet boy. Man.
Wow.
What are you doing here, sir? You're not
The
worried. Go away,
USS.
dog.
How is Jane Goodall? Did you already talk about Jane Goodall?
Jane Goodall was amazing. She is
Nice.
amazing. She is humble as hell. She is wise. She is funny.
Wow.
She fell in love with Tarzan when she was a little girl. She felt that Tarzan married the wrong Jane.
Ah,
That was a little joke she
funny.
made at the beginning.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she was awesome. She was really awesome, and thank God for people like her.
and Sigourney Weaver played her in a movie,
Right, that's right. I forgot about that.
Gorillas in the Mist. By the way,
Well,
that
why
has
did-
some very
why-
convincing. It has some very convincing practical effects.
Yes.
Back in the day when like they used to have like, remember the Three Stooges gorilla compared to like the gorillas? There was a long way they came with gorilla suits.
The trading
gorilla
places
suits-
gorilla.
They didn't even try back in the day with like trying to make convincing gorillas, and now it's like the '80s was the pinnacle. Like they can't even replicate that now. I don't think.
By the
She-
way, by the way, I just want to say, Trading Places is just like my cousin Vinny. I grew up watching that movie. I love it. I could quote it for you, but I'm not going to do that.
No, but Trading Places is a great film.
I will not.
She repeated a thing about a couple times about. She mentioned it when she first got on, where she said that you're going to meet her, not the icon that's been created by like TV and movies and documentaries and stuff like that. Which I thought she kept like bringing that up, where because she mentions how people kind of think she's going to be this grandiose speaker and stuff. She's just like a grandma. It's like really amazing.
That's
Yeah,
very
she's very
cool,
soft spoken. Yeah, I've heard her in
Oh,
interviews. She was on Colbert one time, and she was just so like sweet. She's like Aunt May from Spider-Man or something.
Yeah. If she was an actress, she'd be a perfect anime.
Joel, I'm gonna go get whiskey now. I'll be right back, guys.
Since Starfleet Sohail is here, I was gonna say Starfleet boy, but he's a man now.
He's a man.
Nerds.
He's got.
If anybody wants to talk about the brilliant Mandalorian series, which people are saying it's fallen off, it's not good.
Oh my god. No,
Okay, guys, it's not
I'll be
it's
back,
not
though.
Obi-Wan and it's not Boba Fett. Get over yourselves.
It's much better than those. Are you
Yes,
kidding me?
it's one of the best TV shows in years. Like, what are people getting on with? I don't get it. It's never fallen off. It's never.
I'm sorry.
You know, there's one episode in the first season that I just don't like, and it's just one out of all the series, and
Which
it's
one is
episode
that?
5 of season 1. Which I was like, but the rest is good. Episode 1 of season 3 though was so short, and it was just all set up, and there was it felt like that monster attack, the alligator attack at the beginning, was kind of like shoehorned in. But it's been going good since then. Episode 2, 3, 4. It's funny because there was a episode 4. No, was it episode 3? Episode 3 is the longest one, I think, of the series, or at least of the season. It's a long ass episode. It goes off in this other thing with this doctor dude, and it's all about the New Republic and stuff like this. And then, why do I have my camera on? So it's all about the New Republic, and it's a strange like side story that they spend a lot of time on. There's actually a resolution and everything. And then the next episode, episode 4, is like the shortest of all of the episodes of Mandalorian, and it's one of the best ones. It's the one where they rescue the Mando kid, and there's that flying reptile thing which looks so photorealistic. Like the visual effects in this show are just
Except at the end, when they drag the 3 chicks off of the shuttle, I think look kind of cheesy.
oh, okay. Yeah, some parts like that. But even in the episode, I think it's episode 2, I believe. Yeah, it's episode 2 or maybe 3. I don't know. They all kind of blur together now. But when Mando goes and wants to bathe in the water, and then like he goes right down, and like that whole journey of like getting him back up and seeing that big what's the name of that big monster that.
Mythosaurus, I guess.
Yeah, the Mythosaurus thing. I'm like, I'm loving all this, and people are like it's too. People like why it's not slow. It's just they're taking a bit to get into the main plot, because the trailers make it seem like this whole season is about retaking of Mandalore.
I just
And
want to
that-
know which show uses the AR wall more, Discovery or the Mandalorian.
I don't
It's
think
almost seamless in the Mandalorian. I really have trouble telling, but I know some people can really catch it. But for me, it feels seamless.
Yeah, it's better in the Mandalorian than say
No, it's-
Discovery
no,
season
I mean-
4.
I mean,
Discovery
no,
season 4,
no,
they're
I
still
see.
getting the hang of it. You know what I mean?
Or Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is
Did
really
you
bad.
guys see the
Obi-Wan has the
trailer
most.
for the-
Obi-Wan is
the
the
fan
worst
edit?
one. Yeah. Yes, I did see it. It was really good.
I think that's
What?
insane, and it's like an actual editor who works on Star Wars who like did all the effects and everything. It's like cinema quality. I can't wait till it comes out. Obi-Wan, someone just they did like a fan edit similar to what
Oh,
people have done. Yeah, I personally love the Obi-Wan series, but I think a lot of people had trouble with it that I was talking to about it. PJ, did you like it? I forget. I think Ruben, did you watch it?
I watched
You
it.
watched
Unfortunately,
it.
for some odd reason, I watched it.
I watched it. Yeah.
That's right. I remember talking to you about it now.
There was somebody also did a fan edit of the Obi-Wan series into a 2.5 hour movie, and apparently I watched I don't know, an hour of it or something.
Man, at least that would be shorter.
It's better pacing, and it's seeing how like all the fat, if you cut out trim all the excess crap, it can actually flow
Ruben,
pretty well.
Are you secretly watching Star Trek Picard, or are you?
I told you, I've seen all 11 episodes.
There's no...
You gotta change your phase variance to 0.02%, and you can see the 11th episode.
I just want to know if you're secretly watching it because I think.
No.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
No, I'm not watching.
You know he's
Would
not.
you
I
like?
get my weekly PJ report.
If I were dying, would you watch it for me, like just to talk
No.
about it? Because there's a
Yes.
scene. Oh, good. Okay, I'll save it. I'll save
No.
it for
You're not
that.
dying.
If you're dying, I would watch
No,
it
no.
with you. I would watch
Okay.
it with you every day
All right,
until
cool.
you die.
Because there's a scene I would love to talk to you about in Star Trek Picard, but if it's just, I'll wait.
What's-
I'll wait till
what
the
I-
appropriate time.
Oh, I mean, I'm
What-
spoiled
what's-
beyond, yeah.
Is it a spoiler for a future episode?
Oh, sorry, Siri decided to mute me.
No,
What were you saying?
have you seen beyond episode 7, Sohail, at this point?
I have not.
Okay.
Liar.
I'm
Liar.
so
I
the
have
10
not
episodes,
seen-
how are they
Never
circulating, and in what circles are they circulating?
There's none of that. It gets somehow magically lands. It gets transported to your home if you're on some kind of like special list, and that's it. That's
You
it.
liar. You've seen
Jesus.
them all.
No, I have not. I have not seen them all. I swear. But I'm laughing because everyone thinks I'm like. I just cannot say. I just cannot say how I have access. That's all.
I've seen them all.
You have seen them
Huh.
all?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah. I think
It doesn't
PJ
matter
would
anyway.
kill me if I
There's-
said I've seen them all.
I
Right.
did-
There's only 3 left
Joel's
now
comment,
anyway.
did you wish
We've seen
really,
most
really
of them.
Yeah.
I'm a lucky person, but I think I don't like want to say that I deserve it, but I think that like it's a treat for me because I love Picard season 1 and 2, and none of y'all did. So no, I'm just kidding. I'm just
That's
kidding.
not
I'm just
true.
kidding.
I mean, season
No,
2 is
well-
one of the greatest comedies I've watched in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. There you go.
Oh, wait,
No,
it's,
I'll just say
the funniest part is yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I've only seen up to episode 7 for real, but I will just say this: to me, season 3 is just so special, and like it's just I love it. I love it so much, and like I know like folks are like
It's no Andor.
there's always
Oh my
stuff to
God.
find. No, but it doesn't have to be any. It doesn't have to be an Andor. It just has to be Star Trek, and it's the most Star Trek TNG.
Andor
the
is like
most-
Stanley Kubrick made a Star Wars show. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's fine, and we have room for that in Star Trek. Like certainly, Discovery is going off in strange new directions, and even Strange New Worlds is reinterpreting things in new ways. But this is a true continuation. Picard season 3 is a true continuation of not just Picard season 1 and 2. I have to say, like I'm very.
But every
impressed with how
TNG
much-
movie, every TOS movie,
Everything.
every TNG episode,
Everything.
every
It's
DS9
like-
episode, every
it's
Voyager
like-
episode.
but it's
Everything.
beautiful. It's done in a way that I have. That's why I want to talk to Ruben about it. But I'll wait till the appropriate
I'm
time.
every Star Trek. It's
all
all
in
in me.
Hell yeah,
Ah,
You're gonna remember that. Remember, baby.
Ruben.
You're gonna
As I
remember
remember,
naturally.
as I recall, you were always a big fan of a Starfleet Academy show, and now that one's been announced, are you gonna try to pitch for it? I think you should.
No,
Well, it's
I
the
always thought it
32nd
would be a
century,
good
by the way.
idea for as far as a business product.
What's that? Wait, what?
I thought it would be a good idea a while
Yeah,
ago.
like I remember in well, maybe not that long ago, but you've
Like
been
when
like,
Dawson's Creek was on, I was like, why don't
that's
they make
right. That's what it was.
like
That's
a
right.
Starfleet Academy show, but like Dawson's Creek? I know I wouldn't watch it, but I was like, I it would be popular, you know, and Wesley should be a teacher.
Wesley should be a teacher. He could
Well,
still be one.
It's 32nd century, Ruben, so it's probably not going to be
No,
good.
well, I was talking about my show, but yeah, I know
I'm
this
joking.
new one is supposed to be 32nd. Well, Wesley's a traveler, baby. He can travel
That's
wherever
right.
he wants, whatever
You-
the
you
contract
will
states.
How do you know that?
disco-
If
Yeah,
you watch
disco
Picard
cameos, which
season
is good.
2? Why would you watch Picard season 1 and season 2, but not watch season 3? Because it's your people, like the loves of your lives are in it, who you go to sleep every night listening to?
That's right.
Is that why? That's what it is, right? You
My
just
dream
can't.
weavers.
Yeah,
Those are my
Yeah,
because,
you
like,
seem like you're insulted that he's not watching season 3.
He does.
He
He turns
is.
together.
He
turns
is.
together.
He is. He
We've
absolutely
had
is.
this.
He's
I've known him for 30
exactly.
plus years. Yeah, this is a little game we play.
but like it just
Cat and
baffles
mouse.
me that.
Technically, I
Yes.
told PJ before the season started
Yes.
that if Red Letter Media covered it, I would watch it,
Oh,
and those
okay,
sons of
okay.
bitches covered it.
So you have to watch it.
So
Okay,
I
at some
technically
point you
have
gotta
to
watch
watch
it.
it.
You do
but-
have to watch it.
Since neither one of us is
But-
going to scroll up through the conversation to get a screenshot of that, I can say it
Well,
never
Ruben,
happened.
you were on like almost every Picard season 2 and Strange New World season 1 discussion. not liking most of it in either show, but
Yeah. Especially
but
Picard
Picard
season
season 2 is kind of an unintentional comedy. You can go back and just kind of laugh at
Well,
how
Picard
fucking
season 2, I
stupid it
found
is.
some sort of perverse humor in it, where it's just like, nah,
Yeah.
it was so insane to me that I
It
was
is
like,
so
I
bad.
can't believe this exists. Like, I can't believe
It is so bad.
these scripts were greenlit by
I think-
multiple people.
My favorite part was Picard. It's like, oh yes, the bullet holes. They were supposed to be there because I remember the bullet holes. I'm like, what?
Some fucking Tenet
I'm like,
shit.
I like, what about the bodies in the wall, old man? Were they there when you were like a kid? It's like the Borg bodies sticking out of the fucking
Those
concrete.
were like Picard's friends when he was a kid. He would talk to them. You want some tea, man, in the wall?
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Oh my god! What about the body of the wall?
Oh,
Man in the wall like some tea.
And also, but also, my favorite thing about Ruben during Picard season 2 is that Ruben would often, he goes to PJ to complain a lot, but he also goes to me to complain a lot.
Yeah,
and one of the
my
things that he would say
squirrels.
to me often is he would always say, "What about that goddamn ship? That goddamn ship is in the middle of the goddamn forest. How could nobody fucking see that goddamn ship in the middle of the goddamn forest?" He would always say that.
One cop,
Oh my god!
one cop that got murdered and
no.
no one investigated the cop's murder. That cop is still dead somewhere on this fucking France. Hey, what happened to
what?
Jacques? I don't know.
the shadows
Who's
of the
dead in
night
France?
part is like
I love that part.
it makes me want to invert like the house at the end of Poltergeist and just
Whoa.
like become nothing because I just don't want to experience it.
Also,
Which is also done very well as a Simpsons parody.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Also,
The house is like, I'd rather eat myself than live with the Simpsons.
Live with the Simpsons.
Yeah. also,
You can't help but feel a little insulted.
yeah.
Sorry.
Also, the thing that's really, really frustrating to me is the way that the Rios relationship is done with the nurse. I'm like, guys, I don't like that relationship to me was just laughable.
Who wouldn't
As the
fall
series
in
went
love
on,
with her?
just-
Come on, get out.
Yeah,
come
I
on,
was
get
like,
out of here.
come
She's
on.
beautiful.
I was like, just get out.
And the way Rios
I was
Wow,
like,
was
like
get
you
out
guys
of here.
really love to
Like,
talk about
look-
Star Trek Picard season
But
2.
look at Rios and look at her.
Like,
What
really
about-
You.
Dang, like it's amazing.
But let's
like that.
let's get
After
back
all
to the
this time, you're
Mandalorian.
still, like,
Let's get
into
back
it.
to the
Power of a
Mandalorian.
good
Cool.
TV show,
Yeah, let's
man.
Okay, let's go
do
back.
it.
Let's go back to
Jeez.
Mando.
Remember the New Republic? Remember? Remember Grogu?
Yeah.
Yes.
Star
Okay.
Trek Picard season 2
Now let's
lives
talk.
rent free in my head.
Fuck you! Watch season 3, damn it! Fuck you! Sorry.
I'm
What,
gonna go have
what does everybody
Grogu
think of
got his-
Bo-Katan? Bo-Katan.
I love
do you-
her.
I love
her,
Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Katie
Was she-
Sackhoff can do no wrong in
Yeah.
my mind.
I'm a
Was
little
she-
less
was
gay
she
for
in
her,
something else? Was the
actually, to be
character-
honest. Just a little.
Sorry.
Just
Ah,
a little
what was
less
it?
gay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just saying I'm a little less gay for Bo-Katan than I normally am. She
Well,
she
oh my
does
God.
something to me.
Will she get your Katie Sackhoff?
Yes, that's
Oh my
exactly.
Oh my god.
That's
funny.
exactly-
I'm
what's
sorry.
happening.
I apologize immediately.
That was really
Uh,
helpful. But
not
yes, that is
immediately
exactly.
No.
Correct. Correct.
There's some
Because,
jokes
you know,
that you
sack-
only make at specific
That's
times.
I
not
know
nice word.
why you don't have to. But was
Not
the
nice
character
word.
in some other Star Wars iteration that I'm missing?
Yeah. Yeah, she was in
She was
the
animated,
Clone
right,
Wars.
at first?
Yeah, she was in Clone Wars.
And she voiced the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never
was
watched the
in
Star
Clone
Wars
Wars.
animated stuff. It's
Yeah.
I have a life. But
He was in Halloween Resurrection with
That's
Busta
right.
Rhymes.
That's right.
joking.
And she was, of course, in Battlestar Galactica.
Yes,
Yep.
it's Starbuck.
Starbuck. Great.
And you know what's funny? I didn't watch. Wasn't in this Battlestar Galactica back in the day. But here's the thing: I never heard one person back then bitch about the gender swapping. Nobody cared.
Nobody.
I don't think anybody cared. And
okay.
nowadays, it's like an issue everywhere. It's like every time race swap, gender swap, people are like, "Argh!"
You were among a more enlightened crowd because all my friends who liked not I don't know what Ruben thought, but all my friends who liked BSG were complaining that Starbuck was a woman, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool.
No, the only thing of BSG I ever really
And
watched
it's the
was
men
when,
clutching their pearls.
When
was
Sohail,
men, yeah.
when Sohail made me watch when I went to visit him at the Apple store, and he was like, "Oh, you've been watching BSG?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Oh my God, come here!" and he on one of the computers, on one of them iMacs, he
What
puts
did he do?
all you need to know about BSG in 8 minutes, and he made me stand there in the store watching the video. And to this day, I still haven't watched BSG.
Wait, you never watched BSG?
No.
Oh shit,
Dude, we should.
Ruben, you're gonna
You know
love
what?
Good job,
You
Sohail.
know what? You know what?
That's,
You
that
know,
was like
Ruben,
an official video that they put out, I think.
Yeah.
Is that- You know what? I'm gonna invite you to one of my watch-alongs, and we're gonna actually just watch BSG just for you.
And funny enough, I like the original 80s Battlestar Galactica, but I just never.
No, if you no,
Watched
I
it.
think
I did too. Not the 80s one, the 70s one.
Well,
Galactica
yeah,
ni-
late 70s.
Galactica
not the
1980,
80s.
we can,
No,
yeah.
We can forget the flying motorcycles.
Yeah, the flying motorcycle. I was so upset. I remember watching that when it came out. I'm like, oh, this is the continuation of Battlestar Galactica. This is going to be so cool. I was like 15 years old or whatever. And I was like, what the hell?
with the
So,
with the
Talk about
The
cutting
original-
budget. I want to talk about a
If
show
you
that cut budget.
yeah, no kidding.
Battlestar
Yeah.
Galactica is a show that I feel like is a direct descendant of Deep Space Nine because, and I don't know if like based on what I'm
Battlestar
my theory.
Came out first.
No.
No, I'm talking about the
The
spiritual
Ron
successor.
Moore. Sorry,
The Ron Moore
BSG
Battlestar.
reimagined the Ron Moore Battlestar Galactica. And so I think that he was able to do as a showrunner and developer of that series, like what he always kind of wanted to do with Deep Space Nine, but he also managed to like create like this like amazing kind of new version of Battlestar Galactica because the original series, if I recall, did a lot of similar things. It just did it differently. Like like they did end up coming to
It
Earth.
was a product of its time. It was
Yeah.
Right.
a 70s TV show.
But what I always appreciated because despite me complaining about canon people, because I think there's a lot of people who talk about canon that don't understand like how to like talk about canon or what its use is. I'm not talking about this company or this group. You guys are all
So
writers.
you're
most of
the
you.
expert in canon, huh?
No, I just think that I
told
think
you.
that canon
Mr.
has a
Big Shot.
simple
Who do
canon
you
has a
think
simple
you are?
rule. What I'm saying is canon has a simple rule, and you have to be like hardcore
Yeah.
about that rule.
Talking about canon with one N or two N?
Yeah, one end, that one. And so what I loved about Battlestar Galactica is
I
that the
know a
whole
lot about
time
canon.
the marketing team at Sci-Fi said, this is a reimagining of Battlestar Galactica. Do not try to like link the two series
I think
up.
most
or,
people
like,
understood that though, right?
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah,
but
of
like
course.
that's the thing is that like that's what drives people crazy about Star Trek Discovery. It to any sensible person, you realize Strange New Worlds and Discovery, these are reimaginings. In fact, TNG to me is a reimagining of Star Trek, because if you want to be really hardcore about canon, Star Trek TNG up to season 3, whenever Gene Roddenberry stopped being an influence on it, would be the true like hardcore canon. And then after that, everything's like spin-off material basically. But
See, I don't. This is where you and I differentiate. So I'll
no,
because
I'm not saying. I'm just theory. This is canon theory.
fight,
I'm not
fight,
talking about
fight,
actual
fight,
like what I
fight,
believe.
fight.
To me personally, I love all of Star Trek, and I accept all Star Trek on screen, and I actually personally accept a lot of like written Star Trek to be in my personal canon. So I don't agree, but I'm just saying if you want to be like real about canon, get
No, but-
real about it. Like don't
No.
pussyfoot with your like
No, but
theories of what it is and like,
Fuck
oh
yeah.
yeah, this is canon and this isn't canon. Like, no, just like, okay, if you're gonna go hardcore, then like make it hardcore and like stick to it. That's
no,
all.
but you know what? I have over the past couple of years,
Writers are
really-
excluded from my critique because you need the canon, quote unquote, to continue the
but I'm not
stories.
gonna talk about canon, I'm gonna talk about something
Whatever.
else.
Yeah, sorry.
But here, look over the past couple of years. I think everybody's gonna kill me now. Over the past couple of years, I've been thinking about this a
No.
lot. Seriously, no, I've been thinking about this a lot.
Go-
I don't like. I
Spill the beans,
respect
honey.
Gene Roddenberry for creating Star Trek. I get that, but the one thing that really bothers me, and I've noticed this over the past couple of years, Gene Roddenberry didn't write that many episodes of his own goddamn show. It's like
well,
no. Hold up. I'm almost done. Wait a second. Wait a minute. He wrote The Cage, right? He didn't write The Man Trap. He co-wrote the first episode of TNG with Dorothy Fontana, but a large part, unless I'm wrong, a large part of the best episodes of Star Trek were written by other people. And I'm like, why is Gene Roddenberry the creator of Star Trek? He doesn't do that. He didn't actually do that much physical writing for the show. So that always bothers
I think
me.
that's not unfair, Marcelo, because I feel like
Why?
Gene Roddenberry exerted intentionally and also passively a lot of influence over
he
those
rewrote.
writers.
Gene
Also
Roddenberry did the
to-
final
Yeah.
writing pass on every episode of the first
Right.
season of Star
He
Trek.
doesn't get screen credit
Oh,
Right.
because
okay.
that's a contract thing.
But he wrote.
But
it-
he,
wrote
I
it?
mean, I don't know how much. Like he just like I'm sorry, Ken just said. He looked at every script. I mean,
Oh,
he
okay.
did what a showrunner would do today, basically.
Okay.
Right.
But he just didn't get credit
making
for it.
sure everything's cohesive for whatever
Well,
they're doing. You know,
That's
He
correct.
didn't-
And he got
so-
executive producer credit. So
Yeah, but
Right.
So
But-
I mean, but it's a lot like I'm not like Stan Lee. Like some of the best
yeah,
Spider-Man stories are not written by Stan Lee, even remotely. He wasn't even in Marvel anymore when they were written. You know,
Yeah.
but he was still
the creator of Spider-Man.
instrumental in the process. So
Right.
But Gene Roddenberry touched the first 16 episodes in particular of the first season. Gene basically rewrote these guys, and in fact, it was such a challenge because Gene would rewrite these guys so much that these writers on the original series got really frustrated and would not come back because the idea was that they were going to bring in these writers who were science fiction, had strong
Writers.
science fiction bona fides, right? They were actual writers. They were writers
Novelist, right?
novelists.
Mhm.
And so Gene's attitude was, you guys are not writing my show. You're not writing my characters. So I'm going to do a polish on every single one.
Yeah.
And pissed
Harlan
off.
Ellison has a great story about
Yeah, exactly.
Sitting on the Edge of Forever, his original
Yeah.
version. The ending, I don't know if this was changed by Gene or what the reason was. The original ending was when what's her name?
Edith Keeler.
Edith Keeler gets hit by the car. It's Kirk who goes to save her, and I think McCoy holds him back, and it's
Right.
changed to McCoy goes to save her, and Kirk holds him back.
Right.
And was that a Gene thing? Do you know?
Well, that was a Gene thing because you had to have Captain Kirk be the hero, right? So
Yeah.
that was that whole big point. But the whole story of City on the Edge of Forever, the Guardians of Forever were actually a group of men who were the last survivors of a city. And regarding this city on the edge, the Guardian of Forever was not really in Harlan Ellison's script. It was a whole other idea. And the other thing was that there was it wasn't Bones who went down because he was accidentally shot with the drug.
Yeah.
It was actually a guy who was dealing drugs on the ship who got involved with all this. And
Yes.
Roddenberry was so pissed off. He's like, I'm not going to have somebody dealing drugs to Scotty and trying to escape getting caught. That was the original idea of Sitting Edge Forever, and it was totally morphed around.
Accidental injection, right? Like,
Yeah.
then he's like,
Cordial
thieves,
scene.
murderers.
Yeah. The cortisone injection. Yeah.
No, I just think the thing that really bugs me is that, look, I I have no doubt that Gene rewrote half of the script. I have no doubt that he did that. But the thing
For
that
the
bothers
better.
me, yes,
Go
but the
ahead,
thing
sorry,
that
go ahead.
bothers the thing that bothers me about it is that he did all that work, right? He did all that goddamn work, and then he didn't get like
Oh,
give the man
yeah,
credit,
it's,
you know?
yeah, water under the bridge at this point. It's no big deal.
Just think of it the same way Terry Matalas is the showrunner and developer of season 3 of Star
Right.
Trek.
Matalas
Picard.
might write 20% of an episode, or rewrite
Right.
20% of an episode, but contractually,
He can't.
so
get
Hell wrote 100%, so he
Yeah,
gets
yeah,
at the end
yeah,
of
Do you
the
Yeah.
think? Do you think Matalas is gonna get another series, or has he got? Do you think he's got?
I
one?
really want
I
him
really hope
to.
so.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think so.
really
I prefer
impressed.
season 3
Because it's funny because people
Well,
online
obviously.
who know Terry and have interviewed like Terry's been on their shows, like these different YouTubers. This is a few weeks ago now, but they were all saying like, oh, but this is just 2 or 3 weeks into Picard, and they were saying, yeah, Terry's not employed by Paramount right now.
Terry's not employed.
Right now, he's
No.
working with Disney.
That's right.
It's not to say that Paramount can't say, well, Terry, Picard season 3 is doing really well. We want that legacy shit you were talking about. Like, who knows? Maybe it's already happening and they just haven't said anything.
I don't think
I
it's
think that
already
might be-
happening. I think they're waiting to be greenlit, and if they get a
Okay.
green light, it'll happen at some point. Like that's what he's hoping. He wants a job. He's like, don't tear down the sets. Like, give me a job. Like,
But him and
but-
Todd
but
Stashwood
it-
have been
but
adamant
it
that they're
sounds
not
like-
employed. It's not happening right now, right?
Alex Kurtzman has a lot invested in Star Trek in the way that
You bet he
like,
does.
you know, and so I think that and now with these cuts and everything, and everyone's cutting everything, and people are laying everyone off, I would imagine they're just like, Terry, let's see how Picard does, and so that's why he's on the fucking internet every day, like answering the stupidest questions, just so that like, just
to
all
be
of
honest, he's a
Marcelo's
guy who
questions. No,
over
I'm just kidding, I'm
engages.
just kidding.
He gets into
Oh
the
my
weeds with
God.
people, and it's like,
No,
dude,
it's great.
you're
I think
wasting
it's-
time, man.
It's you know
You're
what,
wasting
that's his
time.
time to waste. Not
I know,
mine,
I
but
get
have
it.
to
I get it.
say-
Sure, yeah.
I have to say, like, I'm impressed with some of the shit that he puts up.
I don't
with, so it's
dislike him
all,
or
like,
anything, but yeah,
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
think
I think he's pretty cool because
yeah.
just to be fair about like some of these channels that he's gone on that, you know, enough said, but he's been on there and called out like, listen, I have to say that I do not agree with some of your guys' approach or content. So, like he said that on one of the live streams. I'm not sure if it was Popcast, but I don't think the Popcast guys are necessarily
I think I saw that on Robert Meyer
nasty
Burnett.
people or anything. I don't
To a
believe
degree,
that.
I think I saw that on one of Robert Meyer Burnett's streams. Like, I saw Terry Matalas like say like, "Hey, Robert, like, I like Discovery," or like, "I like he likes these show." Like, and you can tell actually because, I mean, there's not so much reference to Discovery because there can't be. It's like classified or whatever. But there's a lot of like he really loves Star Trek. Like he and this team, all the writers, like they love it. Like I've never seen, perhaps Mike McMahon, you know, and definitely like Prodigy, but like I haven't seen it on this level. Maybe it's because I love this era so much. I love like TNG and I love like DS9, and I'm starting to love Voyager. And
Yeah,
so,
you know,
Are
on
you
top of
still
all that,
watching
it's not
Voyager?
often you get a
I'm
show
still
with a bunch
watching
of
it. I haven't finished
geriatrics actually
Yes.
doing the action good
they're
roles.
doing it
That's right.
so fucking
It's
good.
so
It's
everything's so
good.
youth oriented now that it's almost it's almost like back in the day when fans of TOS would see William Shatner in his 50s or whatever, and all of the actors who were so young in the show are like old men now, and people are kind of growing up with them. I'm not like in my 70s, but like I'm 30 years removed from this cast, so like when I was a little kid, they were so young and fresh.
Yeah, but
And
what's great
the
is
whole world
you're-
ahead of them, and now all the age is on their face. That's a theory I have about why it might be so dimly lit. Because even Gates McFadden mentioned on the Shuttlepod show, like she went on set, she had to ask, "Are we lit?" Because she didn't realize the cameras could pick up such low lighting.
detail,
right?
yeah. And also there's something to be said about like like I think that like we are in a point where like some TVs are going to show it better than it looks great on my freaking TV. I don't know, but
It looks fine on Crave for Crave's quality.
Yeah,
It doesn't look dark at all, but yeah.
I think
You
I think
can
there's
see
just,
some
like,
clips on
yeah.
YouTube. It looks a bit different though. So I don't know
Yeah.
what it is about like this process now where like lowly lit things look terrible on one thing and then they look
Right.
fine on another. It's weird. Game of Thrones had that problem, especially toward the end when they started
yeah.
doing like darker. What's that? The whole episode.
I know
the whole
why it
episode
happens
was, like,
technically,
really bad.
but you can't explain it to people because people are just like, I know how to use my TV, and they get
Yeah.
mad, and so like you like you can't like do anything about it.
I know
But
how to
for
use
my
my
for
TV.
my experience, the Blu-ray is always the best. Like when I saw Picard season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, I was like, oh, I wondered like. There's a lot of artifacting that occurs when you stream, and like
Yes.
compression takes plays a role, and so I would highly recommend whatever version of anything you like, get it on physical media if it's available, because it's always going to look the best on that.
If I
Yeah,
ever buy
100%.
physical media again, I would need a device to play it, which would likely be a PS5 if that ever becomes affordable. But I would for the first time in many, many years probably collect. I would want Picard season 3 on 4K because it would be miles better than what it looks like on Crave. The darkness levels are fine, but man, the quality of Crave, unless something on Crave in Canada says it's in 4K, it's kind of blurry. It's really weird. And then you watch something on Netflix or Disney Plus or Apple TV, and it's like crystal clear. 404 streaming, you know what I mean? It's never
Right.
native. That's what the value of physical
yeah.
media. You
Yeah,
get like
no,
the best quality, like especially with the 4K stuff.
Discovery is amazing on Blu-ray. I mean, the pilot for Discovery, The Vulcan Hello, on
Even season 1 looks better on
Yeah.
Blu-ray than it
Yeah,
did on
on-
broadcast.
They released
on-
they released on Paramount Plus in Canada the first 3 seasons of Discovery and the first season of Picard, and the picture quality is infinitely better. Like the blacks are blacker, it's crisper.
But it also depends on
You
your
can actually
television.
see the grain, like it's
Yeah, it's
very HD, and it's not that way in the Crave for some reason. I don't know
Like
why.
one of my TVs has this OLED technology and one of my TVs doesn't, and like on the OLED one, the blacks are insane. Like the parts that are supposed to be black, it's like, and they're so sharp, like the line, like the separation between like areas and stuff like that, that it
No,
looks surreal. Like it's like so beautiful. But then on my older TV, everything kind of blends in, and you get like a grayish thing.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but the really good example for me was, do you guys remember that episode of Discovery where they went on that ship and that thing was the space
The
whale
ship with
episode
the
was-
thing?
No, the episode where Tilly and them go on that ship and they find the goddamn space whale that they trap. If you watch that episode on Paramount, the whole scene where Tilly and them are walking through the ship and it's black, and then you see the Klingon come up and go, shh, is so goddamn
It's
dark.
really dark,
But
it's
if
good.
you watch that episode, here's my point. If you
On
watch that
Blu-ray.
episode on Blu-ray, you can see it's still dark, but you can actually see shit, and you can't
Yeah.
really see it well on Paramount Plus because the compression is so bad. So I don't.
Yeah,
know.
that's why when I watched Picard season 1 and Picard season 2, and I binged them on Blu-ray, I got a lot more enjoyment out of it, and I think that's partially because
the color.
the presentation was so much better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was funny. The ship and the thing with
the ship and the thing with the ship.
yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That was great.
Um.
That was great.
So, guys, I am going to call it a night at the 3-hour mark.
Yeah, I gotta,
You guys have been
Yeah.
streaming for 3 hours.
Yes,
have we?
PJ, I want to thank you for inviting me on for the first time.
Thank you for
And,
being here.
Oh, this is your first night. You got a After Dark kind of. What do you call your show? It's not PJ After Dark. It's just
Boat
it's
Wreck
just
No,
Live,
it's
Boatrek.
Blue Head
baby.
Live.
Boatrek
Blue Head
Live.
Live.
This is your first
Boatrek.
Boatrek Live. That's awesome.
It is. It's my first Boatrek Live, and it was a lot of fun. And we covered so much. Who would have known that we would have gone through the Munsters and
Wow.
My Cousin Vinny and
Twilight
Star
Zone.
Trek and the Twilight Zone and so much and Alfred Hitchcock and it was
I'm gonna have to make
wild ride.
timestamps.
Yeah,
You gotta make time.
Dang.
yeah. It
But
was
thank
a
you
lot
for
of
being
fun.
here, Ken. It's been really fun and it's been very insightful.
Thanks.
Uh,
I hope to be
Ken.
back another time.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're certainly welcome back.
Very nice meeting you as well, sir.
Nice meeting you too.
I already know
we get
Ken.
along.
He's my friend, so whatever.
Yeah,
Are
we
you
know
are you
Ken.
on the Star Trek show tomorrow? Are you on
No.
our animated
Oh,
series?
No, I don't
series
think we're
tomorrow?
going to be able to do it
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay.
I probably
Ruben, are
would
you on the
mind
animated
sooner
series?
If you
I'm
were,
on- yeah.
if you actually invite me to the show.
What?
I've been inviting you like for
This is
weeks.
funny, this is
And then
funny.
you're such a jerk.
Good night,
I've been
everybody.
inviting.
Yeah.
I love
Oh my
that.
God. I've been inviting Ruben. No lie.
Liar!
And then
You
I even
hate
checked
Ruben.
in, I was like,
Liar!
Yo, Ruben, are you all right? Because like you seem busy, and he was like, "I'm fine."
Dude.
Like, whatever, bro. I don't need to be on your little YouTube channel.
Yeah, you don't
Whatever.
need to. But
Anybody
you're
watching
invited.
Ted Lasso season 3?
Ruben,
I need to
you
get
were
on that.
always Ruben. You were
No.
always welcome. You were
Okay, so
always
There's
welcome.
There's a new show.
I haven't
There's
really-
There's a new show on Apple Plus. The first 3 episodes are out. It's called The Big Door Prize. And the concept of this show,
The Big Door Prize. I haven't heard of this.
it stars Chris O'Dowd, very good
so
actor.
loud.
It's about a teacher in a small town. He's married to a lovely woman. He's a pretty decent life. And for some reason, in the local convenience store, a machine shows up that like scans you and gives you your life's potential. And the more people use this, everybody around this guy starts changing their lives based on this machine suggesting. It's like a 1-2 word thing, but it's somehow so profound to each individual that it inspires them to do something. And he finally uses it. And he's a teacher, right? In real life, he's a teacher, and he whistles a lot. He likes to whistle. And his wife always tells him that. It was like, hey, you're a good whistler. And he's a good teacher and all this. When he goes to the machine, this is a minor spoiler. This is only a small part of it. And he gets his life potential. The card comes out, and it reads, Teacher/Whistler, and it fucking drives him nuts because he's like, I'm living my life's potential is like, and that messes with him, and it's it's so good. And each episode focuses on a different person, and their reading and how it affects their life, and it's like very promising series. It's Severance level good. Like in turn, Apple TV, man, they're certainly quality over quantity for sure, and not at a bad price either. So I mean, I'm just praising Apple Plus and the 3rd season of Ted Lasso. Chef's kiss, baby. It's very silly. There's a new character, a new soccer player who like saves the team, but he's kind of weird. But
I
Ted
actually think I'm
Lasso's-
gonna stay up all night and binge season 3 of Picard.
Are you serious?
No. No, yeah, I won't make it. I won't make it to like 3 a.m.
Can we do like a watch along though of like the first episode with you and me? And I'll stay quiet. I won't influence. I won't talk. It'll just be you reacting. Like it won't be like I won't be like silver tonguing you.
I already
Like-
see like 45 seconds in. Well, Ruben, I just want to say one thing.
No, I swear I won't say anything. But we
No,
could
not
do it
tonight.
like not say okay.
Not tonight.
But we should do it. We should do it.
2025.
Yeah, I don't know. This Picard season 3 is not like the whiz bang pow I thought it was gonna be, but it's entertaining. I don't put it like there's something about like Star Wars TV, like with Andor and Mando, that has a certain like quality and pristine, and kind of like it's very much planned out. And people will argue, yes, the episodes might be short and story it's a little slow in some parts. I'm always engaged with the Mando and Andor. Some people watch Andor and say it's boring as hell, man. Why are we going to this guy's apartment? Why are we spending time with this dude's mother? And like, what's the deal with the mother and the critical mother? And you're like, why are we spending time with this person and that person? Then if you have patience, it all pays off. It's all interesting. I don't know, something about it, man. I don't know why shows aren't that good. Disney Plus shows aren't very good, to be totally honest with you. WandaVision was the best one. And what have they had since then? Secret Invasion is the only one that looks really good. The one with Samuel L. Jackson. That's coming out this summer. So we're going to be like watching Strange New Worlds season 2, which is going to be batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And Disney Plus goodness, hopefully.
So Ruben, I have a question for you. If I put on a watch along stream just for you, would you show up for it?
Just for me? No, I wouldn't
Yeah.
show up, but I'd be in the chat.
Boom.
Marcelo's being tricky too. He didn't say the Picard stream, but I think that's what he meant, right? Like,
That's what I'm talking about.
okay.
Seriously.
Ruben,
seriously.
I think I predict you will only watch the last 2 episodes, just because it's just to see all the nostalgia candy. Whatever.
I mean, that would
Because
be, I think that would be like, all right.
Ruben knows exactly what's been happening in the season.
Yeah,
That's
well,
I
I'm
haven't
very
heard
well
it.
hyper
Yeah.
informed about everything. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I can't avoid it, really.
If you guys stick around after the for the after chat, I'll tell you some things.
Okay.
I'll tell you some
Spoilers?
tales.
Spoilers?
Got a whale of a tale to tell you, lads. A whale of a tale or two about the snapping fish and the something.
What's up, Buff?
something.
And it's
The
like
nice-
it's with the moon
the
up.
moon's above.
Yeah.
A whale of a tale, I'll
Well,
tell you.
it's true. And it's all true.
I swear by my
tattoo, that's it.
tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
No, but PJ.
Typhoon Tessie.
See?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I used to know all the words.
No, actually, but
Whatever.
you know what? I when I was a little kid, I loved that movie. I still love that movie. But PJ, you were talking about Apple TV. Have you seen Hello Tomorrow? What have you thought about that?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
okay. That
One thing I'm watching now is the Tetris movie. I watched that halfway through. It's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Oh, I'm dying to see
Like
that. I have
a
Apple TV. I
documentary
should
about
watch it.
Tetris.
No,
No,
it's
it's
a,
like
movie.
it's
It's
similar to the Burger King movie or whatever that came out, the McDonald's
The
movie that Michael
Founder?
Keaton
Oh,
was
The
in.
Founder.
Like, I think it's that
The
kind of
Founder?
deal.
it's about the guy who licensed
Tetris.
the console and arcade rights or handheld rights to Tetris, because Tetris was already a thing in Russia, and he has to
Right.
go to Russia and he
Yeah.
has to deal with the Russians, and there's a lot of stuff going
I
on
just-
behind
I
that
just know
game. Man.
that-
I didn't even realize the extent of it.
Yeah. I remember playing Tetris and getting it for the first time
Huge.
on the NES. Hey, Ruben, Joel inspired me in the chat. I'm going to create an 8-minute recap of Star Trek Picard Season 3.
No,
I'm
oh
gonna
my
create
God.
We'll
like
go
a-
watch it on Apple Store.
Yeah, I'm going to take you to the Apple.
We'll meet up
We'll
at an
meet,
Apple
we'll
Store.
meet at an Apple store. I'll be like, Ruben, you got to see these 8-minute promo for Star Trek Picard.
Jesus.
Season
Listen,
3.
if the last episode starts off, you guys just got to do one thing for me. The last
Okay.
episode begins with a timestamp that says Tuesday, 11:59 p.m. you got to call me immediately because that means as soon as the clock strikes 12, Worf is going to be head people because it'll be Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Yeah, okay. That was a long setup for.
Hey, you gotta give me credit for that. That's pretty good, though. It's pretty good.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it all made sense.
Great balls of fire.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? I
was really missing Troy, Riker, Worf, and even Raffi in this latest episode.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, look, y'all know what I think about the first 2 seasons of Picard. So for me, season 3 has been the best Picard has ever been. Period. End stop. There are some episodes that have been kind of for me, but overall it's been great. And I hope I just hope that Terry and the writers and everybody involved land the ship.
Episodes 3, 4, and 6 are like some of the best modern Trek has produced. 3 and 4 are just like, wow, holy shit. But I was foolish to expect that would keep that level of intensity and good writing and good direction. It's a bit iffy. Like episode 5, I wasn't too hot on because I didn't like any of the Worf and Raffi stuff. Episode 6 was good, and then episode 7 is like, ugh. So it's like, given the track record of modern Trek, where it's like almost half and half for me half the time. Like I'm watching a season of Discovery, and half of it I like, half of it I don't. It's weird. I wish I could just love it all, but I don't have that.
So you're
soul.
essentially saying that you wish you could be Sohail. That's what you're saying with Picard, huh?
I wish I had the optimism.
Yeah.
What were you gonna tell us? Spoilers?
I hate to tell everyone this, but Star Trek Picard was just made only for me. That's why no one else really loves it. No, I'm just kidding. That's terrible. I take that back. What were you going to say? Am I going to give you spoilers?
Yeah. Do you know stuff?
I don't know anything when the live button is on.
Okay. You know nothing.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
So we can...
Like, it's like if it says live over there in that corner, I don't know what you're talking.
And the show picture, so we can get to it.
Yeah, Paramount Plus. You don't mess with those guys. They're serious.
No,
don't mess with the Paramount people. They're up there on their mountain, looking down at us, saying, "Consume our mediocre content." Ha ha. Tulsa King. Ha 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 ha.
You know what? I watched the first couple episodes of Tulsa King and then I was out. I was like, no.
What is the Tulsa King?
It's formula as formula gets. It's just ugh. Yeah, it's like let's copy a bunch of things and not be our own thing. Like the fact that Sylvester Stallone is just some random dude who walks into and the way he takes over is so unbelievable. It's like, and then the way he deals with the other gangsters in the town, it's like, dude, you would be killed 10 times over if this was like if it had any realism to it. But there's something fun about it, and something kind of quirky, and like there's action is good. It's not all bad. It's just not what I thought it would be.
No,
it's
but
not. Taylor Sheridan, I expected more because most of his stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, but the thing about Tulsa King is that Taylor Sheridan actually. Taylor Sheridan co-created the show with Matthew Weiner, who was the showrunner for the first season, but he had a falling out with Taylor Sheridan, so he left the show. So I think
there was some heavy criticism against Taylor. Somebody said, I forget who, it might have been the Weiner guy, I don't know, but somebody said like, your shit is. Oh, it was Kevin Costner's agent.
Yeah, his agent.
He dissed Tulsa King. He's like, stay in your lane. You don't know how to do this gangster shit, basically. It's like, stick to the cowboy stuff because this Godfather wannabe crap is lame as hell.
It's lame as hell.
But it's I can see why people like it, you know what I mean? It's almost like a CBS kind of show. It doesn't feel like a streaming show. Yes, it does have F words, it does have some violence and stuff. But it almost seems like network TV, and that's what is It's like it's kind of
Yeah,
bland in
no,
that
I
way.
mean, Tyler Sheridan to me is a really.
Taylor.
Oh, sorry. Taylor Sheridan to me is
He's
a
watching.
really is a really great writer. Like my favorite thing that he's ever done is what is it 1883? I really love I really love the
Well written.
first
It seems very real, like the way the shit that the people go through in the older shows set back in the day. It's more realistic than Yellowstone. There's almost like it's a deliberate attempt to be less of a soap opera and more of like a real drama. Dude, if you haven't watched 1923 with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, there is a subplot that deals with Native American girls in Catholic schools at the time, and the brutality and the sexual abuse that they do not hold back on. It almost becomes like you're like, oh, we're doing this again. Like when you get to a new episode, you're like, oh my god, more fucking abuse and torture. Like this is really hard to deal with. But when the victim reacts in this like, oh my fucking god way, it's crazy. Like the level of violence in 1923 is something you will not see in any other Yellowstone universe show. It is the most brutal out of all of them. Yeah, and but there's a subplot with the son who's in Africa hunting the lions and stuff. That whole deal and his journey to get back to America, which takes the whole season, and then they're not even there yet. And I won't tell you what happens at the end, but that's so like nothing. It's like it brings down the show, and if that part wasn't like and it's expensive as hell because it's a period piece where they have to like do a lot of CGI replacement and to make it really feel like it's like a globe-trotting kind of deal. It's the most expensive part of the show, but it's the most annoying because the girl that Harrison Ford's son takes along with him.
I don't like that girl.
Is the worst human. Like she's the worst human being ever exist. Like she's benevolent, but she's just insufferable.
Insufferable.
Like I am now talking about the show.
But I just wanted to say, 1883 to me was almost the perfect show. I loved 9 episodes of that show, and I think if Tyler Sheridan would have landed the ending to me, I think that would have been one of my favorite shows of all time.
I love the ending of 1883. It's a complete story. And if you don't know what happens to John Dutton, then if you watch Yellowstone, they do a flash forward to 10 years after that show and to 1893, and you see his fate. So if you're wondering, like, what happens to John Dutton, it's a miniseries. You don't get to see a season 2, but you see those characters in flashbacks in Yellowstone. It's all connected. And this is the kind of example that Kurtzman should take to bring it back to Star Trek. And we're going to end the stream now in a second. To bring it back to Star Trek at the end. It's funny how a cowboy universe on TV
is better.
Has more cohesion between, like, they all sync up. You're watching one show with Kevin Costner, and then you're watching another show with his great-great-great-grandfather or whatever. And then you're watching Harrison Ford, who is his great uncle, who is raising his grandfather and father, who you see in Yellowstone, but they're like old men and about to die type of thing. It's fucking crazy how it's all connected like that. There hasn't been a continuity flaw that I've seen yet. And there's another show coming out called 6666. Plus, there's also another show coming out with... it's about the first black cowboy somewhere in Montana, I guess, and it's connected to that universe. And
I think the last thing I'll say about I think the great thing about the Yellowstone universe is it's essentially an auteur universe because Taylor Sheridan does a lot of the writing for the universe himself, and like 1883, Tyler Sheridan wrote and directed almost all of that miniseries himself. So I think that's the major difference between the Yellowstone, the Yellowstone cinematic universe, and the Star Trek universe over at CBS right now. Yeah.
I was trying to look up the name of that. One of them is the triple sixes or the quadruple sixes,
Quadruple.
and there's another one called Bass Reeves, and David Oyelowo, who was in the short. Wait. David Oyelowo was he was in what's that movie? Selma. He played Martin Luther King. He stars in it. So yeah. We're going to wrap it up there, folks, because it's been a long night. And we're going to thank you, Joel. And
it's been a long
who else was
night.
in the chat here? P.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you,
And
fucking
Jill.
P.E. And Jill, if you're still
And
listening.
Mark Boyd.
And Mark Boyd. You're the best.
And who else?
Fucking
Who else?
coming to the stream. And I'm not
I can only go
gonna
so
say
far back. Wait, no,
I
can't.
love Picard. No, I'm not gonna say I love it. And I know Ruben's gonna cry. He's gonna cry so much when he watches it. He's gonna cry and cry. And we're gonna hug and say I love you.
Oh my god. You are out of your mind, man.
Joanne Robertson as well, who was there earlier.
Joanne came to your stream. Oh my gosh, I missed Joanne. Joanne Robertson.
Jill
awesome.
put her onto it, I think.
Nice.
All right. Thank
you
you,
got some
chat.
good
It's been
folks
a
watching
great
your stream,
experience.
PJ. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Finally, yes, more people watching. All right.
Finally, it's happening.
All right, folks. Until next time, live long and prosper.